Hey guys, and welcome back to the Path to Exile Podcast, episode 38, partnered with Mobalytics. I am Cal Torek, and joining me per usual is Miso Shiro and Dead Rabbit. And if you're new here, we have our audio-only format on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you don't want to watch us, you can check us out over there. This week, we have the GOAT Lolcohol back. Thanks for coming on, man. Last time we had you on, we had a little bit of an audio snafu. We've been itching to get you back on, and we got you right in time. The PoE 2 season is on the horizon. How have you been since we last talked?
I've been good. We've had the Fate of the Vaal since, and then we had the new PoE 1 League, and now we're in the waiting period in between leagues. So I'm good. I'm just trying to figure out what to do in the meantime, though, because I don't know. Is it going to be another month? Is it going to be 2? There's a bit of it seems a little bit up in the air, at least based on some rumors I've seen.
Yeah, the PoE Miso did a video about it. He can talk a little bit more about it. But the PoE DB guy made a update to the website that said, and he made a post about it too, where he predicted that the 0.5 was coming in June, and that caused a lot of people to lose their minds. Could you talk about that, Miso?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, God, this whole thing. Now, all I can say is I'm gonna preface this with if he has insider information, right, then all of this is out the window and it's coming in June. But unless he has insider information, I feel like there's no way it's coming in June. So all this kind of started with PoE2DB, the guy, Chan Singh or whatever. I don't remember. I think that's his name. I'm not entirely sure. But he updated on PoE2DB that the season is predicted to start on June 5th. And that is just crazy because it's already a 5-month-long league, basically. So if you postpone it one more league, then that's a 6-month league, which is the longest ever. And Jonathan has been pretty clear in saying that he's going to try to stick to the 4-month cycle as much as he can, even though we are now on a 5-month cycle for this one. But still, like, he's going to try to stick to dates and not to content, right? But the whole thing is his reasoning for why he thought that is going to be a 6-month league and coming out on June 5th is because he was saying, well, if you think about it this way, the ExileCon is coming in November, and it's very likely that 1.0 is launching in December. So what that means is he's saying that there is not enough time between there to have 2 leagues, which to me is a little bit weird. So he's basically saying like 0.5 will also be a 6-month league leading up to a 1.0 release. And I'm just like, well, I feel like it would make more sense if they did a 3.5-month league for both of them or something like that, right? So you start in May, go to end of August for a 3.5-month league, and then you go from August / early September to December for another 3.5-month league. That makes more sense to me than anything else. Even if you have less content for one of those leagues, it's better to have new content rather than having the same stale content for 6 months. But the other thing is that John, like, literally on the Path of Exile website, for like the forums, right, they made an announcement like a month or 2 ago saying that they will have full plans revealed to us at the end of April. It's on the forums. It said they will be revealing full plans. When I read full plans, I think of 2 things: either the GG live stream / patch notes, because it's not teasers, it's full plans. And by this point, I feel like if they were going to delay the league, they would have already told us. So I just don't see a world where they would have the league start in June. Again, unless there's insider information, unless, you know, Janebu is out there going nuclear on like GG headquarters and we just don't know about it. Like, I don't think there's a world where we ever get the league launching in June, which was why there was like, I was just like, oh, what is going on? Stop, dude. Everybody's coming in. Oh, do you hear about the delay? Do you hear about the delay? I'm like, I did, but it's not. I don't think it's real, guys. Chill. It's going to be okay.
As someone who hasn't looked at his phone basically for 10 days now, I was completely out of the loop. You just sent me on a roller coaster of emotions right now. I was like, what? Wait, no, what is happening? But in the end, you kind of brought it back for me because that sounds the most reasonable.
Exactly.
If if what they meant in the forum post for the reveal to be end of April, if that is just an update to the timeline, if they just go forum post, this is our timeline for what's happening in terms of 0.5, I'm gonna go insane.
That's not happening.
I'm actually gonna go insane. What needs the thing they meant end of April, 100%. It has to be okay. So let's just say it's gonna be on like the Friday that's towards the end of April. That better be in next Friday. We're gonna do the GGG live stream, and then the next Friday is gonna be the release. So my personal is at the latest like mid-May. I would say that would be the absolute latest I could stomach. I would really like it to be much earlier than that, though, like barely May. So yeah, that was a roller coaster for me just now. I personally, I couldn't believe it. Or I wouldn't believe it. It's just, it is way too far away. They had so much time now for 0.5. I don't think they ever had this much time to work on any update so far, because they said there was stuff that was almost done for 0.4 that they didn't choose to put into 0.4. The druid that was in 0.4 was basically also already in the works for quite a long time and was basically done. Of course, I don't know. I don't have any insights into their development process or whatever, but you would assume that the druid was, large parts of it was already done. So everything that we got in 0.4, except for the Fate of the Val League mechanic, there has to be, first of all, there has to be a lot of stuff now in 0.5, and I think they had so much time to cook now, and give it to us. 5 month league is, I don't care if it's early access, full release, live service, whatever. If it's a Path of Exile game, there can't be a 5-6 months league. It doesn't matter if it's early access. It can't happen, because this time now is the worst. And I'm not just speaking from the perspective of someone who is purely a Path of Exile 2 streamer. That has only a little bit to do with that, but also I see people in my community who aren't streamers or whatever, that are just people that enjoy the hell out of Path of Exile 2, that just are, I want it back. I want it back. I'm just like, it's just, so yeah, that was my little rant on it. So
just to play a little devil's advocate here, PoE1 players went over a year without a patch.
Yes.
So
Yeah, but
it's not unheard of.
There's
I
a
agree
big
with everything
difference
that's
there,
been
though.
agreed. There's a huge difference. I feel like if they knew a delay was coming, we would have gotten
Exactly.
we've gotten content patches over 0.4. We never got 0.4.1, let alone 0.4.2, which every other patch before this has gotten a 0.2 patches. So all signs point to we're absolutely getting 0.5. But I do want to just throw it out there that, if I would not be upset if it was delayed till June. I wouldn't be like pitchforks out, losing my mind.
Oh, I would
make it as good as you possibly can. GGG. If you think it needed to be delayed, then I am assuming you just felt like it had to be. But I absolutely do not think it's being delayed. What are your thoughts, Lolcohol?
Yeah. Oh wait, sorry. The other thing was playing. I was hearing you on the podcast.
Sorry.
I would be surprised if it got delayed, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. It could happen. It happened before with the video with Jonathan sitting on the couch, and he sits down and he goes, "I'm sorry," and then you're like, "Oh no, what's what's coming now?" Like, we could have a repeat of that, but the fact that recently he said that they want to do 4 months and stick to that schedule, I mean, they're already a month behind. Yeah, it lasted one league.
Yeah.
If they go for 6 months, the thing is that, man, it's not like people will stop playing the game. That's never going to happen. The fact that they went 11 months between 3.25 and 3.26, everyone came back. It's more just that the community sentiment, like they're giving a lot of goodwill. They're losing a lot of goodwill when they break that promise, especially since he stated it so strongly. So I would be surprised, but I'd give it like a 5% chance that it does come out in June. And then, I mean, we're gonna have to make money by making content about people getting angry on Reddit or something. Like, dude, I don't know. As a player, I don't care. as a content creator, it's terrifying because I'm like, oh no, like we're already in the dip of content. What am I gonna do for 2 months to earn money?
Miso's doing React content now. That's how desperate we are. We're in React Central now.
I personally love React content. I love doing like React content and like just chatting like that. Like I think that's where I'm in my prime. But it's just I don't see a world where it happens unless something catastrophic has happened. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I feel like it's like what Cal was saying. At this point, if they were gonna delay it, they would have told us. I'm very sure on that. Any later than even today, right? If they told us today, that would be very late, in my opinion. It would have had to like ideally have been like half a month ago, where they're like, "We're sorry, this it's not going as planned." Which again, everything adding up, Rabbit's points, Cal's points, and Lolcohol's points, every one of these points, I think, just the idea of it coming out in June is just beyond my imagination. Like, I don't think it's possible. Again, if something catastrophic has happened, right? Maybe. But, or if, again, the guy has insider information that we don't. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, I get the logic he's using kind of works. Like, it makes sense from a business perspective. If you wanted to have a league launch right after ExileCon, like, that is a route you could take to 6 months leagues. But I just feel like you literally, like you two just said it the best. They literally just said they are going to cut content and go for dates, like, and to immediately, like, not even make a year of that, like, promise, that would be crazy. So I don't see it happening. But yeah, you talked about that. You were on the podcast last Lolcohol before the Fate of the Val League took off. How was your thought? What were your thoughts on the Fate of the Val League overall?
Overall, the one thing that I would say was a real downer on the league was the economy. It felt just extremely compromised, which, like, as someone who plays trade leagues primarily, and I want to be doing strategies to generate currency, just having the economy effectively ruined very early on in a, I would say, somewhat preventable way was a bit off-putting. But for the good side, like, the Druid was excellent. Druid, a very, very interesting class. But the mechanic, overly complicated. I know that people, when they got into it, they loved it, but I found it, I wasn't that engaged with it. And other than that, we had, like, a few quality of life changes, a new mechanic, a new boss. One of the mistakes that they keep seeming to make is they put a boss in the game, but it takes so long to get to it that by the time you fight it, it's just a pushover. That seems to happen a lot lately. So I would say it was like a fine league, but it did have a sort of filler feeling to it, especially since we were expecting the endgame update, which should be coming. But I would say it was like all right. It was an all right league.
Yeah, we've talked about the economy thing a lot, and I think that it's been a while since we've talked about the economy, and I think the last time we talked about it, I think we said we were all pretty neutral on it, but as someone who is still playing in this league and still trying to craft builds like 4 months into it, it is awful being a build maker this late into the league. Like, it is miserable. Like, everything is so absurd. Like, and you're trying to, like, at this point in the league, when you're this deep in, the only thing you're trying to do is like the silliest, most like a ridiculous, high expensive builds when everything costs, like, a mirror is 10,000 divines. And some items are 5 to 10 mirrors right now. Like, unidentified adorns are selling for 2 mirrors. Like, that's where we're at in the league. And as someone who just wants to experiment with fun builds, when I look at buying a single ring that costs 600 divine, it's like, oh my god. Like, yes, you can farm that out like reasonably okay, but the economy this late in the league, I didn't mind it for the first month or two because I was able to play around it, but at this point the Fate of the Valve League was not fun at this point in the league.
And that's kind of exactly where the Miso theorem kind of stops. I would personally call it the Miso theorem because yes, it absolutely applies most of the time, and we had this discussion before, and Miso had the very, very good point that if everything is just inflated in a certain way, if you do certain things, those things that you then sell, like let's say you were doing abyss farms or whatever it may be, ritual farming, everything you get through that is also heavily inflated. So you get to those numbers pretty quickly. That only applies to a certain degree though. And especially now, either you're starting late or you're just trying to try out different stuff like Kaltorek just described, then it just gets a little bit, the inflation that didn't really become a problem because everything you are selling is also heavily inflated, then becomes like a little bit of a problem, or like sometimes a big problem, because it just feels like you're not even in a like grounded perspective anymore when it comes to anything. And that is what made it most unenjoyable for me, is just the feeling of it. I always feel like there needs to be something that is grounded in reality a little bit for me. This has this price, this has this price, and we can kind of gauge the economy a little bit on the level of prices for this one and this one and this one. And when it's just like everything is just, there should never be a league where there's where there's a multitude of items selling for 5+ mirrors all the time and everything. It's just, that is just not something that is in like any sense manageable in my head. And then on top of that is just the whole feeling of everything getting just devalued in your feeling, basically, because a divine drop, even 4 weeks into a league, going into a map and dropping like 2 or 3 divines in one map should still feel like, oh damn, that was a good map or something like that. And especially that feeling is just completely gone in this league. It's like, oh, I haven't dropped a divine in the last 15 seconds. What is this? Like, that is just not a good feeling. I still think this league was amazing. I think Fate of the Val, especially the league mechanic as a concept, is extremely cool, and I'm looking forward to it in the coming few leagues and seeing how it turns out then. But this league for me will be remembered as like the hopefully one of completely craziness of just currency does not matter anymore and everything is just in like La La Land or whatever you want to call it. It was weird.
It was weird. I think the thing that's, for me, it gets to the point where it's just you have all that currency and then you can make these crazy builds, and then what do you do with it? What do you? That's kind of like the hamster wheel moment that I described when you're playing an ARPG and you farm to make your build better, to farm to like do harder content, and eventually you reach this point where you realize, wait, I'm farming to do content, to farm to do content, to farm to do content, and you're like, hold on, wait, I'm wasting my life. What am I doing here? And I feel like that moment happens a little bit too early in PoE2, where if you can hide the hamster wheel, then you can, that's when you get that longevity. And I think breaking that with the economy breaking, and then not really necessarily feeling like what am I supposed to do with that currency? Like, I can do everything on this build, so why would I roll another one? And that's when you might want to start looking at playing like SSF or hardcore or something like that. But that league, I think, for me at least, it felt like that hamster wheel was just instantly broken, and that's what turned me off it.
Yeah, I made so many characters league because of that. And like, really, the only challenge in this game right now is if you're trying to like do one shots of full group bosses. Like, that is where you go for to push your build. Is, can you one shot 6-man Arbiter? Can you one shot 6-man Jets? And that should not be like what you're building your builds for, right? Like, that's ridiculous.
Exactly. Or like trying to make a really crap build, or try and use like a really bad skill to beat the game. There's definitely things you can do, but that doesn't really intrigue me, where it's like, I'm going to take the worst skill and try and beat Uber Arbiter. It's like, you know what, I'm good. I'll play some D2 or something. I don't know.
I think whenever we talk about the economy, this league, there are so many people that are going to come out when we talk negatively about the economy, right? There's so many people that come out and say, like, you guys are just mad that us casuals can now afford good items, or like, oh, this is the first league I'm actually able to get like these good items and get my builds together. Like, this is great. I wish every league were like this, right? And I always talk about this, and this is my explanation every single time, and agree with me or disagree with me, but I think it's really true. So at some point, well, this league, right? Since it's your first league actually getting these items, or like it's your first league experiencing like this level of wealth, you're like, wow, this is really amazing. I can finally get that like headhunter that I've been trying to get for so many leagues, but have been unable to get, right? And it feels really good that first time you get it. But if every single league is like that, that becomes the norm. And it's no longer exciting for you to get that headhunter anymore. And the problem becomes that the next chase item after that, the next tier, is like mirror tier gear, which is way harder to get than just getting that initial headhunter or that initial like Rockiatas or whatever, right? It's just, instead of taking like maybe a day or two to work up to one of those items, it may take you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to even get one upgrade, because those getting to that mirror tier item is such a big hurdle compared to getting to that non-mirror tier item. Like, there's so many more incremental upgrades that you can get, right? You're feeling like, oh, okay, one day I'm getting a Rockiatas. Maybe 4 or 5 days later, I'm getting a headhunter. Another 4 or 5 days later, I'm getting a Vertex +4. But then after that, you get to a point where it's like, well, my next upgrade is literally 4 times my current net worth. How am I going to get to that? And that's the point where you stop, you feel like you lose that sense of progression, because we all play for that sense of progression, right? We're like, okay, here's the next thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing I can progress to. And if it gets to the point where it feels like that progression is like an insurmountable wall, then that's when you get bored of the game and either make another character or just quit. So getting to that point and having that be the norm is not very good. And I feel like there's so many people that don't understand that concept of just like, you don't want to be chasing for the mirror tiered items. You want to be chasing for the headhunters. You want to be chasing for the Rockiatas, because those are actually achievable. Whereas for mirror tier items, most people it's not achievable.
Yeah.
And that's why we need more chase uniques.
Yeah, we need chase uniques, and people need to. There's some people who seem to feel like they're incapable of having fun if they're not playing at a certain level. The thing is, in an ARPG, there does need to be that chase, and some people feel like they are inherently deserving of that. Like, just because they play the game, they deserve that item, or they should be able to obtain it. And the thing is, I've played this game for years and years and streamed it for years. I've seen people go from those new players they don't understand how to generate currency and craft builds, and after a few leagues, they get to that point where they're suddenly like, they are able to buy the headhunter. I need to say this in like the nicest way possible, but some of these people might be bad at the game and they don't realize they're bad at the game. And instead of saying, how do I get better? And how do I get to the point where I'm able to farm the headhunter? They want the ceiling pulled down to their level. The problem with that is there are people who are good at the game, and if you bring down the ceiling to a low skill level, all the people who are more efficient, more experienced, they now have nothing to do. And what happens is they end up quitting the game in 2 days. You're still playing for 2 weeks because, okay, cool, you can obtain your headhunter. It takes you 2 weeks. The thing is, you need to have those progression points as you get better at the game. You're now headhunter is not some insurmountable challenge. You might go from, okay, I'm going to go for my first headhunter this league. And then once you get it, cool, next league, you've learned a whole lot more about the game. You might go for like, I'm going to start crafting. Within like 5 leagues, you might be crafting mirror tier items. And at that point, you are so grateful. You're like, thank goodness that there are these steps of progression and not just everything is given to you. Because if it is, then you would have quit the game. That's Diablo 3. You can get everything super easily. There's barely any chase. And there's not really a strong differentiation between skill levels of players. So for everyone just like saying, we all deserve a headhunter. No, you don't. Get better at the game and you will get one. And then once you get to that point, you'll realize, oh, okay, like that felt good to earn this thing. What's next?
That was the most politest skill issue I've ever heard. That was beautifully said.
That was perfect.
That was literally perfect. That is how I've always wanted to articulate these arguments. That's literally how I feel about the campaign skip discussion. Like the
Yep.
rate, you're lowering the ceiling for the people who want to play the game that way, and they don't understand how it impacts other. Like it's a two-way street, right? And you can't lower that ceiling without like compromising the game on a whole different level. And I think that's beautifully said.
Well, I mean, to that, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the majority of players aren't those, so you should be catering to the majority. But again,
there is so much to
No,
do for
that's-
them. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like a mentality thing. Is there are things in the game that you can have fun with, but they've got this thing in their head. I can only have fun when I have the headhunter. That's the problem, and I don't think the game needs to be changed to fit that mentality. I think those players need to change their mentality and say, I can have fun without the headhunter, or I can have fun working toward the headhunter, rather than it is only fun once I get the headhunter. So
it's also just such a dichotomy saying like, oh, the majority of players enjoy these more easy aspects of the game. Like the game is in a certain way, and all of these players have decided to play this game as much as they do, whether they are casuals or they aren't. Like, how does that make sense to then in the end say, oh, but most of the people want this? But you're all playing the game for what it is right now. So why do we then afterwards cater to those people that apparently like the game, but what want it to be not the game that they started to like in the first place? Or PoE 2 or like Path of Exile in general is so fun because it's a little bit more complicated than some other games. It is so fun because it's a little bit more challenging than other types of ARPGs sometimes, especially in the beginning, Path of Exile 2, and they have already done massive changes, in my opinion, massive changes to that kind of stuff. I still remember 0.1, 0.2 campaign runs and whatever. If you got like, even as a like seasoned veteran PoE player or ARPG player, you got your ass handed to you. And for me personally, that was fun. I really get it that they adjusted that a little bit, because it kind of went into the sphere of sometimes not just challenging, but also a little bit frustrating. And I'm 100% a proponent of having the game less frustrating at these times. But taking like dumbing the game down continuously and removing those challenging aspects of it, I think, in my opinion, even though you would think then it caters to the more casual audience and PoE 2 has like 2 million players on Steam or whatever, I think in the long run, it would actually destroy the game. So we need challenge. We need challenges. We need. I have wholehearted trust in GGG to not do it any further. I think what they've done so far in like removing some of the frustration aspects and making changes like that, I think mostly they've done good. For me, for my personal taste, it could still be a little bit more challenging now, but I get it. But at this point, we don't need Last Epoch. We don't need Diablo 3. We need Path of Exile 2. So yes, please let it keep challenge. I'm just gonna stop at this point.
I mean,
Yeah,
English hard.
Go ahead, Miso.
I was just gonna say again, like, you know, this is where it gets to the point where, like, if you make it so easy, every single league get a headhunter, right? You're gonna be like, wow, it's so hard to get that mirror tier item. And what are you gonna do? Have them bring down the mirror tier item? Okay, now you get the mirror tier item. Now you have nothing to chase for. There's nothing to play for.
And like the argument about like how you get like desensitized to divines dropping all the time, like when you have items like Headhunter and Palm of the Dreamer specifically, which Palm of the Dreamer is very cheap this league because of how much scepters are dropping in Temple. Like I'm sure if you're using those items every league, you would get desensitized to those items at some point. Like they're that good. Like I don't ever. This is my first time playing with Palm of the Dreamer. So, and I want to go back to what you said, Lolcohol, because it resonates well with me. Like the first three leagues of this game, I was shit. Like my builds on average were 5 to 10 divines. Like I just could not make currency. But over the leagues, I have been improving. I've learned like low rarity farming from Prada. I've learned crafting from Rabbit and Miso. Like I've learned how to farm Abyss from me. Like over the leagues, I'm learning how to farm and navigate the PoE economy and like the PoE 2 like farming in general. And now I can make currency. I know Fate of the Vow is a little bit of an anomaly in terms of currency making, but I know how to low rarity farm now, and like that's absolutely a skill issue why I was making 10 divine builds every patch before. It was because I just didn't know how to make money. And at some point, it's going to click because you're not focusing on all the other aspects of the game. I've learned all the fights. I've learned how to make builds. I've learned all these interactions with skills. And now I can focus on, min-maxing how I make divines. And it's just, yeah, I resonate with that very well.
I also told you just to go into Sekimas.
Yeah, you also told, yes, and I've also made so much money in
and then
Sanctum too.
And then I got a Discord message like 5 days later. Oh my god, this is insane!
Yeah, Sanctum's crazy.
I also hope you didn't learn to craft from me, because that I'm not very good at crafting. So I meant was didn't learn to craft from me.
It was like filter searches and stuff. Like that's what I meant by that. I don't know. You've made like crafting videos before me, so
I'm pretty sure the statement was I learned crafting from Rabbit and how not to craft from me. So I think I heard. Did I hear that?
I learned how not to boss farm from Miso.
It might have been boss farm. It might have been that other Asian guy, maybe like called X the Farmer X, that puts all those crafting videos out there. You might have learned from that guy. No. But also, before we move on, I do want to say, like, for anybody who is that type of person that does wish that they could get an easier ramp to like max power level, unironically, try Diablo 4. It really is going to be a much better experience for you. Again, it's unironic, like, because I actually think Diablo 4 is an act. Like, people say D4 bad as a meme, but it's not a bad game. It's just not for the majority of the audience that's interested in Path of Exile 2, because they do want to have that ramp up. They do want to have that progression that doesn't just take a day or two to meet like max. Like, Diablo 4 is perfect because the way its progression works is that you can actually get your character to feel like an endgame character in like 30 minutes. But then the thing is, how the gameplay loop works is that, well, after you get to the peak of performance, well, now you're going to the next difficulty level. So now you gotta farm that same gear over again, but at least you're using your character that feels like it's at max power level to get to that next, like, point. So unironically, it's really is a good game for people who do not have that much time in the day to play, because it allows you to actually feel like you're progressing, and you don't have to like learn a lot of stuff to actually, get that level of progression.
I like super get that point. I personally just don't get the mentality sometimes that if you only have a certain amount of hours to play, I personally would think that the progress I've made in those few hours is already, like, I feel that progress, even if it's I just don't get that mentality that you don't feel like you're progressing in a game like PoE2 if you're just playing a few hours every week and you don't have the mirror tier items and mirror tier builds after that week. I don't get that mentality. What I would see as my progress then in that week is like, oh damn, I finally killed all the pinnacle bosses, or I got a Rakyata slow, or I farmed this and that, or I built up a pretty nice temple or whatever. I just never got that mentality a little bit that even though I play just a fraction the amount of time that some other people are playing, I still expect to have those same outcomes. So I get it though. I 100% get Miso's point. At the same time, I never really had that. Never really got that mentality of the equality of outcome while not having the same amount of time.
Well, it's a weird approach because like 2 weeks ago we had the campaign skip conversation, and looking through those comments is pretty crazy how split the discussion is. And when I'm reading those comments, like a lot of them are like, I've never even cleared the campaign each league, and that's how much time they can play and how long it takes them to clear the campaign. That's why they want a campaign skip. But to me, in my head, it's like, why are you playing leagues then? Why aren't you just playing standard? Like, you're forcing yourself into an environment that you cannot commit to, and you're wanting to, like, someone literally said they've never cleared the campaign before, so they want a campaign skip. They've never completed the campaign, but they want to skip to endgame. Like that, like these, like at that point, it's just like you have standard, and I know you're not getting to play the league when it's out, but like, isn't standard there for that reason?
Yeah, dude, I don't get it. It's, again, like, people think I can only have fun when I am doing XYZ rather than having fun when you're playing the game. Are there people out there who are like playing this game and they're hating every second of it for like 20 hours, and then they get to maps and they're like, oh fuck, now I have to like do all the maps, and then they like play the game for another 50 hours. and then they get to like the pinnacle boss, and they're like, oh my god, I need to get a head on. So now they have to like hate play the game for another 50 hours. Like, is that how it works? Are people just like hating every single second of this game until they reach XYZ point? I don't get that. Like, are you're it's the same thing. It is the same thing at the end game and the beginning of the game. The campaign, for me at least, I actually really like, because you're getting, I find progression really exciting, and you're getting those progression points over and over and over and over, like as you progress, as you upgrade items. I agree that I don't understand the mentality. I'm only having fun when I've reached X. And that's the campaign skip thing. For me, it's like, okay, so you want to skip the campaign, and now you're what? You're doing the same thing, but with more loading screens. What does getting to the end game immediately do?
You can actually gain wealth. You can actually gain economy. You can't gain economy.
But you can't. No, but how? You think then divine orbs are just gonna start dropping?
Isn't it always a slow progress?
You're gonna be level 1 in the end game, and then you have to kill monsters to get loot, to get better loot.
Well, just to clarify, there's three things. There's campaign skips. Campaign skips. I'm going to define them real quick. Campaign skips are level 64 boost. You create a character and you are in end game, level 64 with a budget set of gear, and you can just go straight into maps. There's campaign alternatives, which is you're like leveling in maps from level 1. You're leveling in Dell from level 1. And then there's campaign buffs, where it's like, if you kill Uber at Ziri, all your passives from the campaign, from the side quests, they're completed on campaign spot. So there's like 3 different tiers of campaign stuff. And I think campaign skip is like the one I see most requested, which is just start an end game. And I think it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, fuck. Okay, wait,
I'm not going to go into the whole thing again, but I just think there's there is a place for a campaign expediter for a second character per league. First character per league,
it's called twink items.
Well, that requires funding. That requires money. Like it does require that stuff. And even with twink gear, it still takes about 6 on average. Like not even on average, I'd say for like a experienced player, it will take about 6 hours, which is a significant amount of time.
Okay,
it is. It's 6 hours.
I can't. Yeah.
6 hours. I'm not dropping currency. Like how in one stream session, how much divine are you actually making? You're making a lot of divine. And for that entire 6 hours, you're not making money.
I'm banning this topic.
No. I also get this on stream so often. I'm just like, it drives me crazy. I get it. So one suggestion I said on the other podcast with Try and Sogog and Dreamcore was you could have it that like passive skill points are account wide on leagues. Yeah. So you start a new character, you've got like you start with 20 points.
Yep.
You don't have to do all your like little side quests, and then you got your twink gear and all the gold, and then it is rapidly accelerated. But I don't know. Yeah,
that is the least egregious of all of the like options out there. Like if you're on your second character, like I love the Uber Arbiter, right? You're not Uber Arbiter. You kill Arbiter, you get the ability to turn tablets into rares. Like I love those type of things. So if like on your first character, you make it the end game, you kill an Uber or any form of boss, it unlocks that type of stuff. I think that shit's cool.
We are never. I'm saying it now. Okay, for hopefully the last time. No matter what we're talking about here, no matter what we're discussing in terms of campaign skin, whether egregious, not egregious, how often campaign boost, campaign skip, like not playing the game at all, I don't care. We're never going to get any sort of campaign skip ever, never. I'm telling you now. We're never. We can discuss this all we want, and yes, it's gonna be like whatever. We're never gonna get it. We're never gonna get it. You can discuss it. You can talk it into existence as much as you want. We will never get it.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Jonathan
seems pretty against it.
That's what
Miso has a good async trade point though.
Yep, they said they didn't. We're gonna add async trade ever, and then we got it. So I'm. And again, I'm not going to say I don't think we're ever getting a full skip. I definitely don't think that. But I've always been on the side of, I think there should be way to make the campaign a little bit faster on your second run. Like at the very minimum, passive points, right? Now you don't have to do those quests, and now you get a little bit of boost of power at the beginning. I think that's pretty cool.
I'm okay with this is the meme I've been saying, because ever since we had this discussion, I've been getting trolled in chat about the campaign skip. What I've been saying is I'm okay with a campaign skip as long as GGG charges $100 for it. That way, anyone who wants to ruin their experience is wasting their own money doing it.
There we
That's
go.
where I'm at. It's just swipe and boom, $100 level 64 character. Go the full World of Warcraft route. Yeah,
At least
but-
make the character 67.
There we go.
Damn, I remember it was
Lolcohol.
69 was the cool number.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I just went to Disney World the other day, like last week, and the amount of like I would say teens, I don't know, like 14 to 18, I saw standing somewhere and going like this the whole week. Apparently it's that now. So
Unfortunate. I'm glad that I get to miss out on most of those. My 5-year-old was here. My 5-year-old nephew was here though, and
Your
he was doing
5-year-old?
it all the time. Not my 5-year-old. My 5-year-old nephew was here, and he was doing it all the time. It's much younger than teens too, unfortunately. Back to Fate of the Vow, Lolcohol. Did you have a favorite build?
Not really. It feels like it was so long ago because of
It
what?
does.
What,
It's so long ago.
4 months ago. I played a
Is it
wolf
already-
build.
Wow, it's already been 4
It's
months.
been 4
Holy
months.
shit. Damn.
Yeah, favorite build. I don't know. I wrote down a question mark and I was like, I'm sure you guys have some cool ideas. I know Arrow was playing something that looked really cool, but I don't remember what it was, or it was like a Pathfinder that shot stuff in circles. That was cool.
Sorry, I should have phrased the question better on the show notes. What's the favorite build you played of the league? Like
I
one of your
played-
creations.
I played the wolf, and then I played an explosive spear build that was really bad. So the wolf one for sure. Those were the 2 builds I played, and then did the next PoE league start? What is time? What has happened?
What did you play in the private league? Was that the explosive?
Oh
Spear
yeah,
build?
I think that was explosive spear. Yeah, so it was. Wow, this year has been a blur because what the when did Fate of the Vow come out?
December
December
6th?
something.
12th.
December
Like,
6th?
12th, something early December, first third of December.
Wait, but then what? When was the next? What did I do for the last 4 months? I don't know because I played that for like a
PoE1?
month.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
D2 then PoE 1, so yeah, D2 there for a while.
D2,
This is the
and then
podcast where
PoE1.
Lolcohol realizes he has to win.
How time works.
Yeah, guys, I think I need help. Where am I? Yeah,
Too many
I don't know what happened.
ARPGs.
Too many ARPGs, but I don't. What we played some D2, right? And then the new
Yes.
PoE League came out. Yeah, it's just a blur. I think I need a break from it.
My sense of time is shown by the Itsuri helmet I used for the cosplay for the 0.4 and how much
Oh.
dust it is collecting standing like right behind my monitor. It has like the dust it has collecting. This is showing me we need 0.5, please. So I can have something else collect all the
It's
dust.
been a while. I feel like something happened between PoE 2 and PoE 1.
Might be the private league.
Private league, D2. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. Maybe I do have dementia.
No, what was it? Neo?
Oh yeah, Neo. That was sick. We're meant to be talking about builds. I'll talk about my Neo build. I had a Kasarigama ninja, and I need to finish that game. That game is super sick. That game is really cool.
What
I
game?
don't know.
Neo?
Neo 3. It's like Dark Souls Ninja Gaiden, where you're like a ninja samurai going around fighting bosses and like decapitating villages. It's pretty epic.
What's epic is RuneScape is getting a league coming up that has a Path of Exile 2 skill tree in it. That looks cool. They have
Oh.
thorns as a part of it too.
Oh, nice.
RuneScape
I'm thinking about
fans.
trying it for the first time.
Really? Hell yeah.
Really?
I haven't played RuneScape since 2007, so
Really? It's been that long for you, damn.
mhm.
It looks fun.
If I don't get into MapleStory Classic, I might do a little bit of a stint in RuneScape.
Well, speaking of Path of Exile 2 again, let's talk about the most important topic today. I'm excited to talk about this one with Lolcohol. Let's talk about player power. Player power has been a hot topic since the launch of Path of Exile 1, and as we're going into 0.5, I think a lot of people are hoping there's going to be some change-ups to player power. Right now, we have what I call the Trinity of Power. It is the passive tree versus gear versus Ascendancies, and they are not balanced at all. Lolcohol, you said this was a super important topic to you. What are your thoughts on the state of this stuff?
You could maybe add gems and support gems in there as well.
Yeah, gems is a really good yes. Gems is a good one too. For sure.
So I feel like the balance currently is not right. There is too much emphasis on itemization and less on the tree and ascendancy. And I think in a game that can work in an ARPG. For example, the other one, the D2 Diablo 2, like the itemization is very good, but it's not as impactful. I think the problem right now is that because of the pace of PoE 2, the game requires you to solve too many problems preemptively. You kind of have to be prepared for anything, and then you have to have like cover your bases. And because I feel like there's a lack of power on the tree and ascendancy, your gear is having to do too much work, and that just leads to what seems like a fairly homogeneous itemization, where it's all right, you've got 30 suffixes and 30 prefixes between your gear, and like 9 or 10 of those or 11 are being used for resistances, and now you think like, okay, I need to solve for mitigation or avoidance or something like that. So like half my prefixes are evasion or armor, and then okay, I also need deflection or armor taken as, like, and then also you think like, now I also need gem levels and I need magic find, and by the end of it you realize, okay, 90% of my prefixes and suffixes are just full of mandatory stats. On top of that, attributes. So you need attributes, resistances, plus gem levels, and then some kind of like defensive, avoidance, mitigation combination. You know, like it feels like 90% of your item modifiers are just these predetermined things that you have to do. Otherwise, you just get wrecked. So I think by redistributing some of that power to the passive tree, relieving some pressure, attribute pressure by lowering gem requirements, that sort of thing, then you're able to open up the flexibility for more creative item decisions. I'd say currently the PoE pool is a little bit, it's much smaller than PoE 1, obviously. PoE 2's mod pool, which is good, but I think once you get that balance right, where you're getting a better balance of power from the tree and more deterministic sources, then you can start introducing slightly more interesting creative itemization. And I think this is especially a big problem in the campaign, where it's like your weapon is so important and it deals so much damage, and if you don't have the good weapon, it doesn't matter what else you do, your build just feels like it's dealing no damage. So this is actually one of the things I want reworked the most for 0.5, but I haven't heard them talk about it a whole lot. And I like your Trinity. I like your Trinity thing. So yeah, overall, I would say overall balance not quite right, and it needs to be shifted a little bit to tree and especially ascendancy.
Yeah. I think the passive tree for me is like the biggest letdown, especially after playing more PoE 1. If you just go to PoE Ninja and you look at the heat map for PoE 1 and PoE 2, the PoE 1 heat map, it's not like everything is lit up, but everything around the tree, there's always something lit up. Like, always. Every path has something good. You look at the PoE 2 heat map, it is like very specifically the right side of the tree and the crit stuff, and then on the left side of the tree, the crit stuff, and everything else not really lighting up. And the bottom half is not lit up at all. The passive tree is just really, really bad. I don't know how else to put it. Like,
it is bad.
When you look at like how much power you can get from the crit damage stuff, that's how it feels like you should be able to play the passive tree. But there's nothing that compares to any of the crit stuff on the PoE 2 tree. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and like defensively, like there's like so few options on the bottom half of the tree. Like the fact that like we're gonna keep bringing it up all the time. At least I am. The fact that we can't get life on the tree is freaking crazy to me. Like that is such
It's
a
so
big
bad.
like problem for the bottom half of the tree. Like the passive tree is the biggest letdown for me. Like I could rant about Ascendancies because I think Ascendancy balance is really bad in PoE 2. I mean, the fact that
Yeah.
like the gap between Blood Mage and Oracle is so big compared to everything else, and we have so many classes at the bottom that are like less than 1% of play. Those Ascendancies are just bad for the game right now. Like they just don't fit in the current design. Maybe new weapons and skills will help those classes shine. We are still missing 4 weapons of 4 different skill like with sets of skills for them, but the passive tree and Ascendancies to me are like a massive letdown after playing so much PoE 1, because PoE 1, like if you're not picking good passives in the campaign, it's like it makes a huge difference. Like you get
Yeah.
serious weight from the campaign or the passive tree in PoE 1.
It is. I actually try to compare. I know PoE 2 players hate it when you compare PoE 1 and PoE 2, even though they're like 90% the same. But the PoE 2 tree is massively, massively reduced in power. Not only is it that the actual notables, especially and small passives, are reduced numerically, they're reduced. They have fewer bonuses on them. PoE 1, you might have like 4 lines of text for a notable. PoE 2, it's like 1 or 2, and those numbers are reduced. And then the other thing that's a major problem is just the tree feels very diluted, where there is a much, much longer amount of traveling needed that is required between points of interest. So again, PoE 1, you hit that first notable within the first 5 levels, and then you find yourself at a crossroads where it's like, I could go this way for 2 points and get this notable, or down there for 2 points, get that notable, or this or there. And you immediately are presented with a decision. Whereas in PoE 2, it's like, oh, obviously I need to go do that. That's in the next like 9 points that I need to now travel to get that thing over there. And then it's like, what's the next thing? All right, I have to now travel another like 7 points, and then I get the next notable. So there's so much more traveling. And the other thing is that with the feeling I get when I play PoE 1 and I'm designing a build, it's like, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I want that. And like I'm now at like 140 points out of 123, and it's like I have to cut back. Now I have to choose what do I really need? Do I need this? Do I cut back on defenses? Do I reduce crit? Do I get rid of this? That is very, very engaging. The problem with PoE 2's tree currently is it feels like either the feeling is obviously I have to get that because it's basically like designed for this build because it's so specific, or the feeling is I guess I'll get that. Like that's the least crappy looking thing. There's never that feeling of I want it all and I can't have it. And I think that's the feeling you need to get from it. Especially like get life on the tree. Make things more generic and make it more flexible that you can have these builds that are like spread across the tree in interesting ways, rather than you look like you're saying, if you look at a heat map of like shapeshifter builds, they're probably 95% the same. Whereas in another game like PoE 1, you could have 10 people playing the same skill and their trees are completely different. So I hope they get to that point. But again, it's not something I hear the devs speaking about, really. I don't think they've really spoken about the tree.
We just need to mention life on the tree, maybe
Life
like
on the
35
tree.
more times, and then maybe
Please.
someone will hear at some point. I also would argue that putting more player power on the tree, or making the tree decisions more powerful overall, would just make itemization a little bit more, or give itemization a little bit more room to theorize and try out different stuff, because we could maybe go for some other uniques that have like cool interactions or whatever, or like other, just in general, it would just give us more room to experiment in the itemization part. Because right now I feel like the tree is just like a little bit of, oh, I get like 15 life here, or like 15 energy shield, or like a little bit of cast speed or some spell damage. It's very generic right now in its sense, apart from some of the very obvious like keystones or some other parts of the passive tree that are very build defining. But overall, I would like to see more variety and more actual power in the passive tree, because I don't think it would reduce variety and itemization, I would kind of think it would even improve it a little bit.
It would
So
improve, of course. Yeah, because currently your gear is doing so much work. It's doing so much work. And you've got like I said, you've got 30 prefixes and 30 suffixes to work with. And that's it. And so much of that is attributes, resistances, deflection, evasion, energy shield. And then it's like, oh wait, I have like 4 left to do. Like how are you supposed to get creative with like not even 4, even if it's like 6 or 10 or you can't really get creative. But if you put that power on the tree, now you go like, oh cool, I don't have to spend like all my suffixes on resistances and attributes. I can do something interesting there. Why not?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I think the number one argument here would be, I think you can imagine finishing all of the game without having ever spent a point in the passive tree. You don't finish anything in the game without items. So I get that it's never going to be on the same level, and we're not asking it to be on the same level, but still, the discrepancy might be a little bit too big.
Well, there is
Yeah.
that 0 gear arbiter kill that we had. That's all I'm gonna say. You know.
Hey, weren't you the one that argued though that it wasn't 0
I know
kills?
it's not 0 gear because Holocaust gives you a weapon, but still you don't have any of your other gear either. So it still is something. It's again, for my whole thing was it's not as impressive as it sounds, but it still is impressive, right? To do it with 0 gear. I think for the conversation about campaign specifically for gear, I do actually kind of see the vision of the fact that gear is so powerful in the campaign, because it goes along with the philosophy that Jonathan has always had about player knowledge, right? He doesn't want to make the campaign specifically barred behind player knowledge, to where like if you don't have the knowledge to build out a good tree, you're not finishing the campaign very well. And if you have more power on your gear, then it's a lot easier to see bigger number go up. I should equip the item with the bigger number than how do I path on this tree to actually make my build work for the campaign. So I definitely see the vision there.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is that a player's experience, especially a first-time player's experience, is heavily determined by their luck. Where
but then
if they get that good weapon, they shred the game. You can just absolutely steamroll an entire act. And if you get unlucky, you are struggling. It is a huge struggle. And I don't think that is good for a new player either.
It isn't, but maybe it's about like increasing the baseline, so where it's not like that big of a difference. But it's better to at least have some players who are going into the campaign that don't know what they're doing, and they do get lucky and actually are able to complete the campaign, versus none of those players because they just don't know how to skill their skill tree.
I think they could figure it out. Like,
yeah, I'm sure there's a solution. But that's what I'm just saying is like I kind of do see the vision of what they're kind of doing, right?
But the problem is with Path of Exile, the whole thing is the tree is almost deliberately gatekeepy, and you don't want to now dumb down the foundation of your game in order to maybe get people who are just going to be instantly turned off once they reach the end game, and now they're like, wait, what's this? Now it's like there's this huge Atlas passive tree and the Atlas and stuff. So,
well,
maybe that's why they're doing.
I think, for me at least, I think a lot of the casual audience, right? And again, I hate this casual word gets thrown around, but I think it's a success if you get a player to finish the campaign. I think if I were in GG's shoes, I'd see that as a success.
Yes.
Even if they don't go into the end game, even if they hit the end game and it's like this is a huge wall. Like I don't know. There's a lot of people that do just play like they want the campaign to be 100%. Fun, right? They've always said that I want the campaign to be fun. So in that case, I don't see a problem with like at least letting those players finish the campaign and that's their experience, rather than going into the game and not having experience at all.
I think we are agreeing. I think the point is that what I'm disagreeing on is I think that the current way it's set up, it's less likely that someone gets through the campaign with how things are set up right now, because there's not enough deterministic power coming from sources like the tree and a lot of the power is coming from itemization. So you might have one player getting very lucky and getting that good item, and they have fun. You could have someone who gets unlucky and they end up having a horrible experience because there's such a heavy emphasis on itemization versus having like a higher baseline where it's like, okay, this is the expected power that is coming from your character. So I think we both want the same thing, but I think this approach is more likely to result in bad experiences.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that I think they should increase the baseline maybe on gear requirement rather than the passive
On
tree.
gear.
So-
Why is that?
Again, knowledge, right? If you shift the power to the tree at the beginning, then the people who don't have the knowledge just can't really get through the campaign. But if you shift the baseline requirement for the gear, then again, your likelihood of getting like a bad experience is lower, but at the same time, the person coming into the game has a better experience overall and is able to complete
Would
the campaign.
you? Is itemization not as complicated as the passive tree?
100%.
The passive tree, I can
You
I
see,
can
you
go to
see
the passive tree.
big number go up. Now passive tree. Like
Well-
the thing is, right? If you think about it this way, on what is the one thing that is the most gatekeeping in Path of Exile? It's the tree, right? People see the tree and they immediately get turned off.
Yeah.
But if I look at an item, is that going to be gatekeeping me? Most likely not, right?
If you,
I think you suffer
perhaps-
from PoE like brain Lolcohol. I mean, from my experience with my
Yeah.
friends who just started playing in 0.4, the passive tree is like they don't even like process it.
overwhelming. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
they don't
yeah.
even process it. Like, but for, with gear, it's like
It's in
well,
every
how do I
game.
get
It's
through the
literally every
campaign? I just, like,
RPG.
you get a bow with as much damage on it as possible, and then you can go through the campaign. Like, just find a
Okay.
bow, get sockets on it. Like, from that perspective, when you're talking about someone who is like an actual, like, they have no idea how to play PoE, they have no like, and they open that passive tree. Like, I feel like Miso is technically right. Like, for that first time go through, the gear
Yeah.
is what's going to get them through the game, and not the
Okay.
passive tree.
Okay, that's fair enough. But I do think that there then needs to be some kind of foundational deterministic power floor. And that could come
Agreed.
from things like runes, or there has to be something where it's not, I have this weapon that is bad and now the whole game is incredibly difficult, or I have this weapon that's very good and now the whole game is so easy. There needs to be some kind of middle ground there. If that, because I do understand what you guys are saying. You're probably right about that. Like, items are probably more. I know what a boot is. I know what a bow is. I know what a crossbow is. Add damage, that makes sense. But then when you start like looking at penetration, like what is that? And that's like really early on in this tree. So I'm sure that there are ways that you can have deterministic power for items, but
I think
I'm
you
not gonna
mentioned it,
say the
runes.
C
Like,
word.
I think runes is a good start. Like, if you could like force artificer orbs and 2 lightning
Yes,
runes into
yeah.
every single weapon, like that alone is a good enough power. Like on a fresh start, you're not going to have 2 lightning runes in every single weapon the entire campaign, right? Like, that's the odds
Yep.
of you having the artificers and orb rooms for that. Like, that's a huge power gain. So obviously the crafting bench, you can say that. We talk about
No.
the crafting bench plenty here, but
I mean, I do want to.
I think that's a
I
good
get it.
solution, like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's a good first step of forcing extra damage on this stuff, because it does help a lot.
It does. You could figure out a way to make it work, like having runes dropping blank and things like that. But I don't think that the balance is quite at the right
Agreed.
point. Yeah. So what you're saying makes sense, and they can get it to that point where it's like there's that baseline.
I think
I do think the floor of passives does need to be raised too. Sorry, Rabbit,
That
go
as
ahead.
well.
no, it's all good. I think one thing you guys can both agree on is what might be a little bit of the source of that problem a little bit, and once again, it is skill gem.
Yeah.
It is skill gem scaling. I think that is probably what you guys can both agree on, that if more power would come from something that doesn't say just +2 to fire skills or whatever it may be, then it's a whole nother topic. So I'm just gonna always take this back to that one, because I think a lot of those problems can be solved by not having skill gem scaling at the forefront of anything for your character, because it just it not necessarily dumbs the game down, but it just makes everything just on that, because it also during campaign, it just removes like some of the excitement you have about finding items, because like, oh my god, this is cool bow. Oh, it doesn't have +1 projectile. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna use it. So to me, it always comes back to that.
Yeah. I think another solution might also just be like maybe making the affixes on the earlier items, the tiers, having a smaller tier pool, maybe. Or like the tiers themselves are a little bit more truncated in terms of what the min max is for each tier. The difference between a tier 1 and a tier 3 or a tier 4 isn't that big, just for the early levels, just for the the beginning. And then later on you can get a little bit more variance. There's a lot of ways to approach the problem, to be honest, but it's I don't think, at least for what I know about what Jonathan wants, I don't think it's about the passive tree. Again, remember, he literally nerfed the lightning runes because he was like, yeah, I realized that if you are a player and you know that the lightning rune you just slot it in your weapon, you have a way easier time than somebody who doesn't know how to do that.
That's so weird, though. I don't get that mentality, because the whole thing with ARPGs is knowledge is skill.
But it's about the early
Once
game, right? It's about the early game.
Yeah, but I mean, then you learn it and then you go faster. Like you watch your friend and you're like, dude, how are you getting through the campaign so quickly? And they're like, well, have you tried using lightning runes? And then you say, no, what's that? And then you learn and then you do it, and then
you're still rewarded for the
more
knowledge, right?
knowledgeable.
You're still rewarded, but
Yeah.
it's just not like the difference is
True,
that
it's not
big.
as much. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. That makes
What
sense.
were the old lightning
Yeah.
runes?
I
What were the
forget
stats
what it
on it?
was. I just remember one.
Was it a
Least
significant
you-
nerf?
I think it was a
I
relatively
remember.
significant nerf. It was done in like a. They talked about it in a try interview, if I remember correctly.
It was 1 to 20 originally,
That
and then they
guy.
added tiers.
Talkative try.
Talkative try.
He's in the
Yeah.
chat. Hi, try. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything that's pretty much been said. Going back to the original discussion with the power gap, I do want to point out that like a lot of the power that comes from gear, again, we just mentioned gem skill levels. That is something that I don't remember if it was talked about in a try interview as well, but like they seem like that's where they were specifically like gem skill levels is very easy for new players to understand. The level goes up, that directly equates to more power. And they seem to like gem skill levels. I would be shocked if we see like significant adjustments there. Maybe like the +7s get nerfed to +6s, but I don't think we're seeing like gem levels get completely gutted. I think they're going to be like every build maker is going to be making most builds around gem levels on gear.
That's
sadly,
an easy fix, though. You just condense down like what was previously a level 27 gem is now like a level 20.
Well, I think that's
and then
it's not that they want to fix it.
+1.
I think they like
Yeah.
that.
No,
They like that
Jonathan
it's
has
so
said.
readable for new players.
Jonathan has said recently that they don't like the current skilled gem system. They're trying to move away from it. But
Ooh, XP maybe.
yeah, I'm not sure what they're gonna do, but I do expect them to see some changes to that. But I think Crimson made a really good point on our pod. I don't think it was our podcast. I think it was the DM podcast, the impromptu one. But he said something about the damage scaling of gems and how it's exponential, like super exponential as we get to the high end. It's like it's linear until it's like a certain point, and then it gets just super exponential. And every single level past that is just like more and more and more and more damage, to where you are like trying to uber chase like higher and higher levels, and that's like the most important thing. And if we change that to a more linear, or in Path of Exile 1, I know it's like they have breakpoints for a lot of gems where it's like after you reach level 24, then it's not as valuable anymore, like gem levels. So having something like that,
It's the opposite here.
yeah, where it's like it doesn't reward having higher, like as high gem levels, would be kind of a good way to balance it a little bit. That way just the importance of gem levels is lowered because of that, right? I also think that just bumping down overall how many gem levels we're getting from certain items would be good, because like a weapon goes up, like we said, goes up to +7, which is like ridiculous.
You can get 4 on the neck if you get the +1 all skills
Mhm.
corruption. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned like level 24 in PoE 1 is where you see a down curve. Specifically with Iron Ward, which is what I league started. At level 24, the damage doubles. So it doesn't just go up a little bit, it doubles. So it's quite literally the opposite in this game with some skills. I remember Magma Barrier scaling from like level 38 to 40 was like also doubled. So I feel like they just like slapped in a curve and didn't really predict people pushing a lot of gem levels to 40 or something, and I don't know. Definitely fixable. Let's talk about 0.5 then. We got the patch that's coming up, hopefully in a month and not 2 months. I'm not a big crafter, but I know we got some crafters here. I don't see a lot of people talking about what they want in terms of like we get people predicting like Delve or Beast or something. But what crafting mechanic, no matter what league comes, like what do you think is needed from a crafting perspective to like help out with the items you're trying to craft, Rabbit?
Like right as you were saying that, like the first thing that came to my mind was to have back some sort of homogenization.
Yeah.
I 100%, even though I enjoyed that type of crafting a lot, it was really, really cool because it opened up a lot of other stuff that I personally really like the whole, even though you had to look it up at third-party websites and whatever, I personally really like that because it introduced like a little bit of a, I wouldn't even call it like a skill base, or it just added like a knowledge base that you had to have. So if you had that, you were able to craft specific amount of items. I would like to have that back in a nerf form. We're 100% not getting homogenization back as it were, because there's a reason they removed that. But I think it's still, it is a little bit, if I could make the comparison, it is a little bit like PoE1 crafting bench to me, where you have that sort of determinism that you can go for certain or specific items, at least in a way, or you can at least choose a path that you want to go for in this item. That one I really like. What I didn't like about it was that you kind of trivialized everything else because you were able to just do perfect items from the get-go, with that Omen as well. So having that as a balancing act is going to be tough. I want more determinism. That would be, to answer your question, I want more determinism and crafting, and having certain crafting currency that gives me that certain determinism. But at the same time, it can't be 100% deterministic because that takes the fun away. So
Yeah.
Thank God
that's
it's not
what-
on me to balance that.
That's what I wrote down, is we need tag-based crafting, because that's what homogenizing was. It was tag. It was related to tags, like add a modifier with existing modifiers. So those like related to tags. And we currently don't have that really, other than like catalyzing omens. So for one league, homogenizing was OP, but it was compensating for there not being other systems in the game. So it was trying to carry. And so it was too strong, but then they removed it. And then there was like there's nothing to do with tags and crafting in the game right now, is there? I don't think so. There's not,
No.
is there?
No, it's
There's nothing like
Abyss
that.
crafting. Abyss
Is that
crafting, like a little
where-
bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause
yeah,
Abyss
because of
has an
Korgol
Abyss
and
tag,
Amamamamu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
you have
it.
like
That's it.
but that's not really. I wouldn't.
And it's
I
only
wouldn't
for
even-
accessories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
and then there's like the catalyst Omen, but that like barely functions, right? So we need something
I
where it
believe.
is, and you can have this. The thing that was broken with homogenizing was that it could exalt on modifiers with existing tags, which made for very interesting puzzles to solve. But what you can do is, again, it comes down to the lack of reforge in PoE2. I think is quite limiting, because then it's harder to have those tag-based systems where it's like reforge an item with this tag, or reforge this, reforge that. So I don't know how you have tag-based crafting in a system where you're only able to like add 1 or 2 mods at a time, because then it's inherently too powerful. Where if it says like remove a cold modifier from your item, or add a fire modifier to your item, it's too strong. So that's what the game, I feel like it needs, but I don't know how you implement that without going the reforge route. And then other crafting stuff we need is like resistance swapping. Please, resistance swapping is so needed. It's so needed, dude.
Please.
Please, going back to the other thing is that there's like almost a checklist of mandatory item stats that you need, and if you now need to change one piece of gear, there's this like cascading domino effect of now I need to change 4 pieces of gear because of that. Literally, and then just having a harvest swap would fix that. So I could imagine something like harvest working in PoE2, as long as they have like reforge. Maybe it could be something like reforge an item's prefixes, including a fire modifier, something like that. That could work, right? Because then you can like craft your suffixes up, and then reforge the prefixes. There are ways they can do it, but the game needs that.
I also think that going back to the homogenizing one, I would hope that they consider bringing back homogenizing regal, because I don't think
Yes.
that is too powerful. I think the homogenizing regal is amazing
That was
because it gives actual value to white items. It gives value to blue items because you always have the thing now where you can pick up the white bases. You can slam perfect orc, perfect trans, perfect orc on it, and then you maybe have like an amazing base for a specific aspect or whatever, and then you have the homogenizing regal, and if you hit it then at that point I don't even need like any more. At that point I'm super down to take the gamble for the last 3 modifiers, or you still have the abyss crafting on that, so you only basically have 2 modifiers to gamble on. I think that would already do numbers, and at the same time, like I said, it would still give big value to both blue items and white bases, which I think is an amazing part about PoE2. I think PoE2 is practically the game that solved white and blue items that way. So it is that would be really, really cool. I really liked the homogenizing regal, and I don't quite understand why that had to die too. So because it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same thing. It was just a really, really cool addition to any blue item that you hit on. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I like that you brought up white and blue items because someone in chat mentioned scurrings, and I want to throw back to an interview Chris Wilson did with Mr. Llama. It was a D2 interview, but at the beginning of it, Chris Wilson says he thought that PoE2 might have solved the value of white items just always being bad in every ARPG. And without any scurryings, like white items, like low rarity farming is a thing in PoE2. I made a lot of currency doing it this league, so I wouldn't be too happy if scurryings were added because I like the value of low rarity farming and of the white bases in this game. But yeah.
I'd just like to point one thing out is that white items are sold in Diablo 2, and so are blue items. So yeah. Just saying. But yes, I agree. I'm like less on the scouring train nowadays, because yeah, it does give value to those white bases, which is really, really cool to have those. But just need the other systems in place to get it so it's more functional. Unless you need that balance of randomization and feeling like you're somewhat in control. Otherwise, it's just chaos spam. And I think it is something that they will add to the game, hopefully.
Yeah. So when it comes to homogenization, it's like an interesting thing. I think homogenizing regal is potentially part of the way there. I don't know if it's exactly the solution, at least in the current state of the game, though, because I feel like homogenizing regal might have a little bit of a power. What is it called? A power creep with greater essences potentially, because greater essences are kind of a deterministic way of getting that third affix, but just homogenization would make it so that there's because like the essences is a guaranteed, whereas homogenization is not. Though I can see on some items potentially it could be a guarantee because of like how many numbers of affixes there are on those items, right? So I think it's like partly there, and I think it does hit the nail on the head of the problem with the exaltation. One was that you just use it multiple times. You do it over and over and over again, so you can just keep getting those specific mods. And so the mod pool not being that big also adds to that. So potentially there could be a world where the problem fixes itself if we had more like a bigger mod pool. But I do think that at the moment, at least last season, the biggest problem with the homogenization exaltation was the fact that you could just keep using it multiple times. So the Regal could be a solution. Maybe something like you can use the homogenization exaltation only once per item could also be kind of a solution. But I think that is the crux of the issue, just how many times you can use it. So I don't know what the right answer is. Maybe Regal is the right answer, but there could be a little bit of a conflict there with the essences that they might have to work out. But speaking of essences, I actually think that one of the things that I really like about Path of Exile 1 is how essences work in Path of Exile 1, because it offers a very somewhat deterministic way of crafting, but it requires no knowledge. Again, I talk about this knowledge thing a lot because it feels like that is a big hurdle for a lot of people coming into the game, and it offers a way for people to craft items without much knowledge. It's very easy to get a pretty decent like mid end game unique with just slamming essences, and oftentimes you can start a craft with slamming essences and move beyond it after that. So I think I really do like how it works in Path of Exile 1, and I hope that they do bring something like that to Path of Exile 2, because it is a nice like in between, like, no knowledge versus having some knowledge versus having a lot of knowledge on how to actually do this crafting.
Yeah. I don't know if they will add Reforge, because that's a bit of a slippery slope. I also love the way essences work in PoE 1, but it's that, again, the Reforge mechanic that doesn't exist currently, where it rerolls the whole item. And they've said
Just
that they
Alps,
don't
right?
want that.
Alps are the only way you can reroll the item.
Sort of.
Alks
Only magic items.
don't-
Only magic items.
Alps and PoE 2 now reroll the whole item.
For magic items.
The blue
for
though,
magic items.
for magic.
Wait, but you can't spam it on the item repeatedly.
No, you
can
can't.
No. It just
No.
rerolls the stat one time. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the difference. Is that Reforge is that you can repeatedly apply it to the same item over and over and over, and that's something
OP.
they said they don't want. Yeah, I mean it's not that OP. I mean it's good, but yeah, you have like one guaranteed mod, and then the others 4 to 6 mods reroll. So it's fairly easy to get something functional, but you're not going to necessarily get anything amazing. But it does also then form a foundation of building on top of that. So you can like spam essence, like a strength essence until you get good suffixes, and then build up the prefixes. But yeah, I would be very surprised if they add Reforge into the game at any point.
I think so too. Especially with
Yeah.
the value of like low rarity farming right now. Like you add that to the game, you immediately like tank the value of like all bases and stuff, because you can just get one base and
Yeah.
just spam on it over and over and over
Spam
and
it
over.
forever. I mean, you
mean-
can kind of do that already, right? With like Chaos and Annul and
Yeah.
Exiles, but it's
But
Well, yeah.
way more expensive.
It's
Maybe
expensive
it
though.
is a thing where it is just instead of a chaos orb, it's an alchemy orb that guarantees that one affix.
Yeah. Isn't that currently how it works now? Does it? They work
Alps don't
like
guarantee
regals at the
anything.
moment, right? Oh yeah, no, I'm
Mhm.
talking about essences. Sorry, they function almost like regals, right? The lower
Yeah.
tier ones. Yeah. Whereas you could have it so. Oh yeah, that's an idea I had a while ago. Was you could have them so they function as it either upgrades a magic to a rare with that guaranteed mod, or it makes a white item rare with that mod, and then X number of other mods. I think that could
Yeah,
also
I
work.
mean, I guess it's not really that much different than like, transmuting and then auging and then throwing a regular essence on there. Yeah, I mean, I guess
True.
it doesn't make that big of a difference. Yeah, I don't know. I just do really like it though in PoE 1, that it's like a nice mid-level craft that players can do without much knowledge.
Yeah, but there has to be knowledge. There has to be those levels, right? And essences are great in PoE 1 because it is that foundational. where they're very easy to understand. I'm just a little bit worried that they start making decisions where they're constantly worried about, oh, we can't add that to the game because some people might not understand it. It's like,
Well, it's not about
that's
that. It's
yeah.
about adding levels, right? It's about adding like
Yeah.
little steps, basically. Sometimes I feel
Exactly.
like in Path of Exile 2 right now, there's like a huge step between like, essences and then the next level of crafting, right? It feels like getting from like, or just like spamming exalts to the next level of determinism,
yeah.
where, in PoE1, you could fill that gap with like essences, and then you also have the crafting bench, and it's just like there's more steps to it to kind of help handhold the player to like, okay, I'm ready for the next step of crafting, and it's not that big of a leap between the previous one and the current one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any final thoughts, Rabbit?
Oh, I was muted. No, I think it's like it's one of the hardest to balance, because we've seen what happens if there's too much determinism in the last update, and I really didn't enjoy that. I think the crafting overall needs to be deterministic in a way, but at the same time, you should never be able to easily craft the best items in the game with that deterministic crafting. I think having it as an option, as like a mid-level thing, will always be a good thing, though. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like it's such a leveling of these two things that needs to happen. But it's super enjoyable when you can do it for like the mid-level. Or I'm like in this situation right now with my characters. My boots suck. I don't know, but there's a really, really good way now for me to easily craft like mid-tier boots here, and it's a fun process. And it might even need some type of knowledge a little bit, because that is what makes it more fun in my opinion, a little bit at least. As long as it's explained by the game easily. So yeah, it's a very, very tough balancing act in my opinion. I just think, as I've stated multiple times, I really enjoyed ground loot. I enjoy crafting, but I only enjoy crafting as long as the objects that you're crafting do not devalue the ground loot, because I personally play to get items dropped on the ground. But if there's some crafting that gives me mid-level items to make my finding of ground items a little bit easier, or more smooth, or more exciting, I'll take that. But it should never be I can just easily, okay, I'm in the end game now, and now I can craft my perfect end game items. There should always be mirror crafting as well at the end. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, balancing act. Once again, very, very tough balancing act.
It's absurdly hard to balancing out, just to end the subject on this, but like, I don't think people realize how hard it is to make a game that has good ground loot while also having rewarding crafting. Like, you can't have good loot rares dropping all the time, but then craft on those rares that are already really good. So, like, when I hear people want better ground loot, it's like, when you get better ground loot, you're sacrificing crafting for that better ground loot. So it's a balance. It's a balance. 6-7, 6-7.
Can we all just do it for 1 second here?
Lolcohol! Don't leave us like this. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
hate
Now
that.
someone make a GIF out of that or something, and then okay, perfect.
Let's move on to. Go ahead. Sorry.
Actually, one thing that made me think about was like, maybe there's a way to make it so that homogenizing exaltation only allows you to craft up to a certain tier of affix. I don't know if that could be a good way of like balancing it, but it
like
adds
essences.
it adds like a mid-level of crafting again.
And that's why I in PoE 2, on the current system, like completely disconnected from PoE 1 essences, because I agree with Miso on that one. But what I like about PoE 2 essences, for the most part, is you can deterministically get something, but it's never going to be the item that has full tier 1s, because you will always deterministically add like fire resistance or whatever it is. You can add it on there, but it's never going to be, in the end, it's never going to be a perfect item. And I like that. If it's like a tier 3, tier 2 fire resistance, or T2, T3 physical damage, or whatever it may be, I think that is what I like the most about essences. And that is what I imagine PoE 2 crafting to be a little bit. Determinism, but it's never going to be the perfect upper echelon of items. That's why, just quick rant, I think they forgot about rarity in that one, because the crafting, the rarity item crafting, you can make full tier 1 rarity items with the rarity essence. So I think they forgot about this one when they changed the value of rarity on items. So that is still the one where you can craft a perfect rarity ring with that one. So
Good to know. I didn't actually know that. Let's
Well,
move
I
on
mean,
to
rarity's gonna be
predictions
gone
of
next patch anyways. We're all good.
Yeah, that's not something we haven't talked about in a while. We've not talked about rarity on the podcast in a while because GGG said it's being reworked in 0.5, so feels we've beaten that horse dead many times over. The rarity talk. Let's do some 0.5 predictions. Let's get into the fun stuff. Let's start with the league mechanic. What are you guys predicting? I think a couple months ago I predicted Legion, but now I'm with Miso that like I hope it's kind of Beast. I had a lot of fun with Beast in PoE 1 this last league, and I think that Beast is one of the PoE 1 leagues that is like really due for some form of update. There's like they did remove it to where you don't have to like buy the vendor item to capture the beast or to claim the beast now, but I feel like if they did a PoE 2 rework of Beast, they could easily port that over to PoE 1, and that would be really cool. I don't know, I just like Beast though, from this last league, so I've got recency bias. What are you guys predicting? Let's start with Miso.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that the next league mechanic has to fulfill two things, in my opinion. First one is that it needs to be an in-map league mechanic, because the last one was taking you out the map like completely. Like you literally didn't even need to be in a map; you just lived in the temple. And the other one is that I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward one, because this one was a very complicated one, right? It's going to be one where you can jump in, do something in map, whether it be kill the mobs or like you click on a thing and something happens. Like it's just gonna be like very easy and straightforward. And there's kind of like a hidden third one in there for me, which is crafting. I think that we've talked a lot about crafting just right now and how the homogenization removed a very valuable piece of crafting power, and potentially they might use this league mechanic to add back some of that power to make it so that we get a little bit more crafting power in this league. So when I think about leagues from PoE 1, and again, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I wish they would add a new league mechanic. Well, they have pretty much they have said in the past that they're not adding a brand new PoE 2 only league mechanic until I think 1.0 at least. So I don't remember if it was 1.0 or if they've added all the previous league mechanics, but I think
it was all previous, but yeah.
Yeah, either way, they're not adding any new league mechanics right now. So if we're going off of what exists, then in-map league mechanic, fairly straightforward. Two of them come to mind, which are Beasts and Legion. So I think it is also going to be Beast, but at the same time, if we also think about what they've done with the league mechanics in the past, Abyss was never a crafting league, but yet it became a crafting league. And then Incursions was also, for the most part, not a crafting league. You could do a double corrupt in there, but it also wasn't a crafting league. And they did add, not like a lot of crafting stuff, but they added a good bit of like all the orbs that they added. They were all things that you could use to edit items and craft them. So who's to say that they are limiting themselves to that, where it's like, oh, the previous PoE 1 added crafting, so now it has to add crafting too. So I think they could very much do something where they just take a previous mechanic and then add crafting to it. But I do think at the end of the day, it is going to be a in-map mechanic and a very fairly straightforward one.
Yep, I wrote down the same thing because we're expecting the end game rework this league, right?
Mm-hmm.
So presumably
I think
they're
so,
going
at
to be
least.
wanting it. Yeah, I mean we're hoping for it. It's slated to launch this league, so yeah, it has to be an in-game mechanic as well. I agree with that. I think I was wondering about other in-game mechanics. Harbinger, I could see Harbinger being one because that's fairly simple. Harbinger, Harvest could also fit. Blight, I know there's a lot of people who want Blight, but Delve, like I was thinking Delve, it's not the right league for it. If they're doing the big endgame update, I don't think they're going to want everyone like out of maps. So yeah, definitely, hopefully something simple. Harbinger, or what else is there? Do we have Ultimatum? We don't have Ultimatum PvP.
We do. It's our Ascendancy. It's our trial of Ascendancy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. But something like that, Harbinger, Harvest, Blight, Legion. I wonder if they would do Legion. I would be surprised about that one, right? Because it's very.
It is in the
it's very
game files.
GOE.
It is in
Is
the
it?
game files. It is.
Okay.
Mr. Crimson Casts turned me onto this, but he told me to look in the game files, and in our game files, we currently have. Let me see if I can find it. It was Blight was one of them, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Blight was one of them. Legion was one of them. Let me see if I can find some of the other
Delve
ones.
was one.
Delve was one.
Delve.
Yes, Delve was one.
Oh. Okay.
Man, I'm trying to. Let me see if I can find this.
And just while he's finding them, these are not new additions. It's not like these folders showed up like right before 0.5. These have been in there since last year.
Okay.
But the fact that they exist is it means
Is
that they're working
interesting.
on them internally. So
yeah,
I wonder if they would add more than one mechanic in one league. Can you imagine?
So that's my
Like-
prediction is that
Oh,
there's
really?
a chance we
Okay.
get multiple. Like I'm not ruling it out. Like I know that might be like maybe just because of the history of PoE that's just like never going to happen, and like GGG's like if they hear this they're like, oh, that's stupid, we'd never do that. But I feel like with this much time and like a big end game rework, like I think they could drop two.
The thing with GGG is you need to you mustn't think, oh, they've never done that before, therefore it won't happen. I think the history of GGG is they will surprise you in ways that you never expect. You think you know what they're gonna do, and then they just like they do something completely crazy and different, and you're so hyped about it. I'm thinking about like the announcement of Act 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in one go. When we were expecting Act 5, and then they like, here's Act 5. And 6 and 7 and 9 and 8 and 10 and like you go what? So it is 100% in line with their kind of surprise update. So they might say, here's the new end game. Here's Legion, Blight, Delve, Beast, Harvest. Like go have fun. I could totally see that happen. I don't want to get anyone's hype. I mean like hopes up.
We're good at overhope. We're hopey of the train here. So.
Yeah, so
I think like Beast specifically could be paired with another mechanic. So
yeah,
this is the Reasonable Expectations podcast.
Reasonable expectations.
I get myself overexcited and then
every time
I'm happy anyway. no, I don't get. If you're disappointed, you're disappointed. But I like being excited and hopeful about it, so we can see. But I can picture that like Blight and Beast. Why not?
I definitely don't think Delve is coming, despite being like a big Delve simp. Like one, I think Jonathan has said that Delve is one of his favorite mechanics. So like for some reason, like combined with the fact that it's out of league mechanic, I'm expecting it for 1.0. I don't know why, but I think agreed with everything that's been said. Like they're not doing like they've done apparently 2 back-to-back like out of map mechanics before, but the timing for the end game rework just feels like I don't know if I'd want to be in Delve with a new Atlas tree. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless it's just something you don't expect. Yeah.
So I have the files now, and sorry, Blight was not one of the ones. I apologize.
No.
It was Heist.
No!
It was Heist.
Heist.
Yeah, Delve,
Heist,
and Legion are the ones that are in there, along with Breach, Incursion, and Ultimatum. But there were let's see. In terms of when they were updated, Breach, Delve, Legion, and Ultimatum were updated in June of 2025. So, and then, let's see, Heist and Incursion were 2025 in December. So, more recent than the other one. So, that was updated. Those were updated when patch 0.4 dropped. I don't think it really means anything, right? I don't think it like means, oh, we're getting Heists, but it's something that's going to be coming in potentially at least nearby future compared to some of the other leagues.
I'm gonna predict it right now. They're adding 10 league mechanics to 0.5. That's it. You think it's just gonna be one, and then they're gonna be like, no, there's 10, and here's the whole Atlas tree. Also, we're adding the Shadow and the Marauder and the Templar and the Duelist. All right. And then
Jonathan is gonna come to your house and cook for you in the New Zealand national dish.
And then we'll be fine with a 6-month league, right?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
You joke about 2 classes. I think 2 classes is a or multiple classes. I think 2 classes
Really?
is a possibility. I think
No.
so.
There's people who think
The
there
problem
are no
that
classes.
I have with the
I think no
that
classes
is my
true,
point.
too.
I think having an update very, very focused on endgame content doesn't need to have classes, because classes don't really, or even new ascendancies or classes or whatever, they don't really do anything for the endgame.
As a melee
right?
main, if we don't get a new class, I'm gonna lose my shit. I need more
Okay,
melee
that's-
weapons.
That's something I truly understand.
Yeah.
I didn't get mine out yet so far, right? Because I always think there's
yeah,
always
sorry.
a slight possibility to have league mechanics that are in PoE that are not in PoE 1, and I am personally always really looking forward to league mechanics that maybe that are not already in PoE 1,
Well,
because
I
that
mean,
would be amazing.
before-
At the same time, not what were you saying?
John, they have said that they're not adding new mechanics yet.
Yeah, they said
For
that.
now.
Jonathan's.
No, I mean
For
just because we're just no. The only thing I just wanted to set the precedent that we're just talking about league mechanics from PoE 1 into PoE 2. I just wanted to say that I would always be excited for new league mechanics.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The PoE 1 league
yeah.
mechanic that I want in PoE 2, and I think there's only one correct answer for this, is it's obviously Blight. I don't know how it's not something else. And
Yes,
that is
correct.
not just because like any specific reasons or crafting or itemization or whatever. It's just pretty. I can't imagine how pretty it will look
Divinia's
in
gonna
PoE
look,
2.
yeah. Oh,
It looks
Okay,
so good
sorry.
in PoE 1 already, in my opinion. I think it was always something that I just enjoyed, just on a visual level. It was amazing. I can't imagine how cool Blight would be in PoE 2. That could be amazing just on a visual level. It is also something that I think is very easy to understand, even for someone as smooth-brained as I am. It was always something that I gravitated towards because it was always a self-feeding loop a little bit. You could just spend your time in Blight. You got oils to then upgrade your Blight or whatever. I know it might not be coming as soon as we think it is, because the anointment system we kind of already have with the distilled emotions, but I still think there is something that could be done with the oils that is something else. What I personally think in that regard is anointed uniques, for example. That would be something amazing. Maybe to be able to anoint uniques with oils, or to turn uniques into different uniques with the anointed version. But even if we don't get that, I still think Blight is amazing, because it is, it's a self-feeding loop. It's self-sustaining. You get everything from it. You have these like amazing possible drops, golden oil or whatever there may be. I would be, the day they announce Blight for PoE 2, although I don't think it's going to be 0.5, it's going to be a very, very happy day for me. And I already see someone saying Blight with PoE 2 performance. Yeah, maybe we need to address that beforehand. But yeah, I would
Spoilers, by the
I would
way,
love
and-
Blight. I would love Blight at some point.
Anyone who's a lore nerd, just spoilers for 10 seconds. I'm gonna say something you might not want to hear. Cassia does have voice lines in PoE 2 DB, so I believe
Cassia.
Cassia's
Why did I call it Divinia? What the shit? I got her name wrong. Okay, so
I was confused who
you.
you. Cassia has.
Oh my goodness, sorry.
And
My
her tag
apologies.
in the files is like old. It's like old Cassia, so it's weird, but
Well, all I'm gonna say
she does
is
have lines. She could be coming.
I actually think that Blight is pretty confirmed, because if you think about it this way, Oil Grenade is getting a nerf, so they're going to be nerfing it to where you need oils from Blight to actually use Oil Grenade. So
Okay.
that way
That is so good.
now you don't have to worry about Oil Grenade not doing the same as it did before. Like, it'd still be powerful, but you just gotta need to get the oils to actually use it.
Or it's just like they're just adding another layer. Not only do you need power charges now for this effect, to get the power charges, you need to have the power charge oil in your inventory.
Don't put this energy
Yes,
into the world.
Perfect.
No, please.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Blight. I don't know why. I've got the brain where it's like I don't like stopping in the map. I don't want to sit there and do something. I just want to That's why I like Beast so much. Beast, you just go. You just go, and they're a part of the map, and they die, and you get your beast, you collect them, and you move on. Like, I like those mechanics. I've never been into Blight, but I know Blight's got a huge fandom. It's funny, we've had a performance topic on the show notes for like the last 2 months, where we just like we never get to it at the end, and been wanting to talk about that for a while. The performance in 0.4 has been rough, but we'll save that for another time.
Try make that video about like the number one wishes we had for 0.5 with like a bunch of content creators or whatever. I didn't even talk about anything else. I just said it has to be performance, because it's the baseline for anything. It is just and I think, sorry for like taking the point, but I just want to emphasize that again. I think it is the absolute baseline for the game for me being actually good. No matter what you give to me, league mechanics, classes, whatever it is, the baseline for me is that the game performs well. And especially in a game as pretty and as smooth, like it feels very good to play. Everything has weight to it. The game looks amazing. The art direction is amazing. Everything. The only problem that I have with the game overall is that then it's just not performing to a level where I can enjoy the game as much as I wanted to. And so I really want to emphasize that point again. I think it has to be on the top of the list on every single patch for them to have the game perform well and be optimized well for everything that we are doing. I just sometimes have the feeling that they don't test it far enough, that no one in the GGG offices or whatever is testing it like on a fully juiced map or like whatever. What's the best example for it? Like a fully juiced temple, fully juiced map, pack size, whatever. Because in the campaign and like early end game, as long as you don't have any monster density, yeah, the game runs fine most of the time, and then it's beautiful and amazing. But as soon as you get to the juice part of it, it just starts going downhill very fast. And that is my biggest wish, not just for 0.5.
I don't know if this is an issue with GGG specifically, but it was like a running rampant problem like 10 years ago with a lot of game development companies where they would release games that couldn't perform well. And it was because everyone who tests games internally is playing it on a supercomputer. And that they don't see the lag internally because they're not playing it on, someone's $1,000 PC. It's crazy that us streamers have lag, and most of us streamers don't have bad PCs. We probably have better PCs on average than most people. So,
doesn't Miso have a like 5090?
Yeah, I have a 5090
He's got
and
two
9950 and a streaming PC.
yeah,
it's like if it lags if Miso says the performance is not good, then Miso, I think Miso's PC right now is like supporting the Artemis mission. I think that's true, right?
I mean, sorry, okay. I can't give those extra resources to them.
True.
My
That's
stream
still
deserves
classified.
frames.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Let's move on to more predictions here. Let's talk about classes. They were mentioned before. I do think we're getting a class. I am not I think there's a chance we could get 2 of them. That's probably Gigacoat, but I think we're getting a class. I don't know. As a melee main, maybe that's just cope because I really want more weapons. I would be happy if it was Templar, Marauder, or Duelist. I personally don't play the right side of the tree. I wouldn't be upset if we got Shadow and Daggers, but I would love it if it was just... I have a bias to the bottom left side of the tree, so... Personally, I think Templar is my prediction. We just got a Holy Skill tree rework, or Holy Skills reworked in PoE 1. I think Templar would be a cool time to release, right now, with a lot of those skills that got reworked can be showcased on Templar and PoE 2. I'm predicting Templar, but you guys got predictions? Let's start with Lolcohol.
I'm really confused. I'm sorry. I'm really confused on class predictions because I've seen in the past few days 6 different talkative try videos of stuff being confirmed and then not being confirmed. I'm just very confused at this point. I've seen like Templar is basically confirmed and in the game, Shadow is confirmed and in the game, and now the newest one is nothing is confirmed, nothing is in the game. I don't know if he's still here, but try. Can you shine some light on this situation?
He's here.
What was the Shadow reason again? Wasn't like Shadow talked about or Shadow showcase like or something in like a what was it? Was a April Fool's something?
It was the build showcase. They the
build of the week, right?
Yeah, they said spoiler alert: Shadow's a class that's coming in the game, at some point.
Yeah.
My
That's
YouTube
funny.
Shorts feed had me very confused over the past few days, and it's mainly due to Talkative Try.
Is that
We're
what
at
he's
that
been
point,
up to?
man.
Yeah,
We're at that
the
point where we're
the
desperate.
speculation. Yeah, I honestly, if I were to predict one, probably Duelist or
Yeah,
Templar.
swords.
Yeah, but
Swords.
swords. I gotta be honest. I don't really care. For now, I don't think that is very important to the game. It's a bit of a
It's so funny
toxic.
hearing that because there's so many people on, like, if you go to, like, I mean, obviously it's Reddit, but if you go to Reddit,
Yeah.
it's like, I will not play the patch if there's no new classes. Like, what happens
That's
when there's no new
crazy to
classes to be
me.
added though? Like, you have 4 patches left and then you're gone because, like,
Yeah.
eventually no
Yeah,
new
I see.
classes will ever be added.
I don't understand it. They're like, oh, I'm not interested in playing the game until there's swords. It's like, bro, what? Like, how is that your baseline for
Well, I
if the
mean,
game
I
is
think
good?
that
It's
that's also like a testament to like the amount of like more casual players there are, because
fair.
that was kind of like, those are the things that bring those people in. Like when I was playing PoE, I didn't, like, when back in the day when I played PoE 1, like as a non-streamer or whatever, I didn't play every league. It was like, if the league mechanic wasn't interesting, I didn't play. So it's kind of the same thing where it's like there's that one thing that like draws people in.
True. Yeah. They're not gonna like sit there reading the patch notes and getting excited about like some balance change. They're gonna see like,
finally,
swords.
Comet's coming and it's getting a 5% buff. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough. That makes it make more sense. Why people are excited about swords? For me though, I'm not. I would be very excited if it came, but it's not sort of top of my priority list. I think it's stuff like balance and game. That's what I'm really hoping to see. But if we do get one, Duelist, I'd be happy with any of them, man. Duelist, Shadow, Marauder, Templar. Is there another one, or are those the final 4?
Those are it. Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you got like the Ascendancies, so you got like Arcane Archer and Beastmaster from like Ranger
true,
and
yeah.
stuff, like. So we have like new Ascendancies that can show up. The Druid's missing an Ascendancy still. I think Monk's missing a Martial Artist still. So those could technically show up.
That'd be cool. I'd be more extremely excited if that happened. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to be bummed out. They might save a lot of them for 1.0. Maybe they like drip feed another class or 2 until December.
It just depends on like where their importance. Because like from my perspective, it's like you want to get these things in so you can get them a balance pass or 2 before 1.0. That's like where my head goes. Like get as much content in now so like you can have it tried and tested. So when you do 1.0, you're not like launching and then swords are like abysmal or like there's broken things and stuff, right? Like that's where my head goes. But they have marketing brains sometimes where it's like you drop swords and axes in 1.0 with Axe 6 and like all this crazy stuff. Like that's whoa crazy.
Yeah.
So
we will see.
Thoughts, Rabbit? You have a prediction?
Warlock.
Where were we? Sorry. I was
prediction
still,
on Ascendancy.
I was,
Do you have
I was
an
still
Ascendancy
thinking
prediction?
about Blight. Like I said, I don't think it is crucial for the for.
But if
the
the
game
one
in
that
this-
was to
in
come, what
this
would
state.
you?
I like martial. I like
Even
the
if not
idea
a
of
prediction,
martial
like what would
artist.
you want? Oh, martial arts is cool.
Oh, it's an
Yeah,
Ascendancy. class.
I do think. Huh? Didn't
That's
we
an
say
Ascendancy.
Ascendancy? I'm sorry. I was still.
I'm mixing words.
No, I personally, when it comes to me, it's Templar. I would love Templar because I think it would close a lot of the other stuff, because that side of the passive tree still maybe needs one. I don't think Marauder is in. There haven't really been any leaks or any signs towards Marauder, so I'm not really hopeful of that happening now. I do agree with the whole swords aspect. I don't agree with the thing that I don't play the game if there's no swords, but I do agree with the sentiment that swords is essential for a game like this. And especially the melee aspect. I think it's so up in the air. We had like leaks for everything. Like I said, Try has me confused as hell. It's just like I honestly think we will still be surprised with the 0.5 update, even though we had like 5 months of predicting and guessing now and leaks and this and that, and I think we will still be surprised, and that is what GGG always kind of manages to do. We thought we knew what was coming in 0.4, and then it's always something else. So it's like at this point, I don't even know anymore. If you ask me, I personally I want Templar and I want the remaining Ascendancies.
Did you make predictions, Miso?
Not yet. I mean, for me, it's gonna be swords, duelist, simply because I want it. But I also think that I think it's gonna be a bottom of the tree ascendancy to help round that, like get more stuff into that part of the tree that is kind of neglected, where there's not really that much good stuff down there. I also think there's like a couple reasons why I think it might be swords. That and I think swords were one of the first like items that weren't supposed to be dropping that were dropping in the game. That's another reason why. I also think that with the fact that I mean maybe this is tinfoil hat, but I think I've heard from some chatters that Chinese players are kind of appalled that there's no swords in the game yet, and we all know that Grinding Gear Games, Joe Nathan, he does love China, and you know they get all the updates first, they get special customized content. Like if the Chinese players are asking for it, they might just fold for it, and you know Daddy Tencent might be coming and knocking on the door, be like, "Hey, yo, where are the swords? Where are the swords?" So that could be a possibility as well. And to talk about like Templar, potentially, I'm not entirely sure. I think Templar will be a little harder to do because Templar has a weapon that doesn't exist in Path of Exile 1. So even though they updated the actual like what is it called, the holy skills, it might have to be completely different from what it is in Path of Exile 1. So we'll see about that one. But I'm also just on the notion of like if they release any new class, I'm just gonna be really happy. I think any new class is gonna be great, and I'm looking forward to all of them.
Cool. Well, let's talk about what we are. Three things here: what you're dying to have added in 0.5, what you are expecting to be changed, and then something you're hoping to be removed. You don't have to answer all three, but Rabbit, what are your thoughts on any of this?
I mean, dying to have the obvious one is obviously the endgame loop. That's not a like surprising answer now. There is just the base for PvE2 is very very good. It's extremely amazing. We just need to add the endgame content on it now, whatever it may be. Is it in a form of lead mechanic? Is it in form of Atlas tree rework, infinite Atlas, not rework, but adding stuff onto that, the addition of new pinnacle bosses, harder pinnacle bosses, other challenge bosses, whatever it is. Hopefully, it's all of those things. Hopefully, it's everything in that regard. So that is what needs to be added. I will reiterate again. I think looking for performance optimization is a very crucial part of that too, in general, just for the game overall. So that would be my hope for adding. Let me open the notes. Something that I expect to be changed is the temple. I would expect the temple to change massively over the next update. I think Abyss right now is in a very, very good state. So I personally don't expect, or I hope for no changes to that. I also hope for changes to the old league mechanics as well. I think there is some value or some opportunity here to change some stuff up in those as well, especially maybe Expedition, maybe Delirium a little bit. I think there's ways to improve those league mechanics or change those league mechanics up in a way where it's just also going to add onto the endgame loop because more people want to actually dive into these league mechanics now, so it adds to the endgame. So that is something that I expect to be changed, or I would hope for it to be changed, and hoping to be removed. I don't know. Hoping to be removed.
The chaos
there's
plants in
nothing.
Ritual and the chaos plant mod. I hate that shit. What is it? Volatile.
I actually have something for
Volatile
removals.
plants.
You don't.
Yeah, I hate
Oh,
it.
remove the boat in Act whatever it is.
Act 4.
What?
The boat that killed
I mean,
his hardcore character. The exploding boat.
Oh, dude, that was so good. That was epic.
And for Lolcohol, it's remove the
I'm
monkey
glad
that
you
killed him
had
like
fun.
12 times in a row.
Yeah. No.
They already
buff
did. They already did
monkey.
basically remove monkey. They already basically
That
removed him.
that is disgusting. The fact that they nerfed the monkey is one of the worst things ever.
I
Well,
think
they
that, I
buffed
think
him
he's a
again.
good wall.
I think they buffed him
Oh, did
again.
they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They
Somebody,
buffed
somebody
him?
said they buffed quadrillas, so I think he's included in that or something like that.
Okay. He needs to be how he was. Like he hits you and you die. Like that is such exciting content, especially in HC.
Yeah, and it's not like mandatory because it's just passive points. Like you can
Yeah.
come back and get it later, like 10 levels. So like if you're a new
It's
player who's
just
struggling,
fun.
you just move on. I like the old monkey wall. Well, I'm gonna do my list. So one thing I'm hoping to be removed. I'm gonna start with that. This might be a weird, controversial one. I actually hope they remove the experience change they made around pinnacle content. You used to gain and lose experience when doing pinnacle content. And I like that. As someone who likes to spam pinnacle content, it sucks when you do 100 breach kills and you got 0 experience for that. Like, as someone who loves doing boss content and that kind of stuff, like the removal of XP loss was like to prevent like new players from feeling punished by them, but it also removed the way you gain experience from them. So when someone's grinding them, like you're grinding it only for the loot. You're not progressing your character at all. And I feel like that really kind of stinks. I think it's okay for like the low tier content. Maybe if like you want to get someone into breach level 1, breach boss tier 1, you don't have the XP gain and loss, but maybe for the higher tiers you do. So we can get some like there's more reasons like to grind them. And with combining that with what I'm dying to have added into the patch is more bossing content and just more difficult bossing content. It's really shitty when you can like one-shot tier 3 bosses like within a couple days. And like as someone who like I love to spam one boss 100 to 200 times, like I'm a freak like that, and it just both of those two feel very weird compared to playing PoE 1 to me. I get why they were the XP loss change was added, but I would like to see it come back as someone who just like loves to spam simulacrum. If you got a good simulacrum build, why can't you get experience from it?
Yeah, we'll have it like a toggle. You could say like can't lose XP, can't gain XP, click a button. Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what you're talking about, where you're like, I'm gonna do 100 of this, and then it's like, oh, I'm getting no XP. Yeah.
I think it's actually
That's my
funny
list.
that.
Go ahead, Miso.
Oh well, yeah. I think it's funny that
You can respond, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny that the Path of Exile 2 is supposed to be the bossing game, but Path of Exile 1 has way better bosses. The pinnacle bosses in Path of Exile 1 are way more like interactive. You have to actually do their mechanics. Like it's a way better experience. So I do hope that they end up fixing the bosses and making them better. But I mean, for my things, my hopes for what they add is I hope they add my idea, terraforming tablet. Go into the for anybody who doesn't know, my idea of a terraforming tablet is that right now towers are kind of useless for the most part, other than adding a grand project, and that's kind of all you really do to it. It would be really cool if we could add something called a terraforming tablet, where it's in line with the game lore, right? With the actual design of the end game Infinite Atlas, and it allows you to get a little bit more agency with deciding what maps you want to do. Because if you go into a tower and let's say you don't like the maps in the freaking Citadel area, you don't want to run Molten Vault and Sun Temple over and over again, right? Well, now you go to a tower near that area, pop a terraforming tablet, turn it into a desert biome, and now you're running Confluence, Deserted, Oasis, much better maps, right? That's what I want them to add. That's what I hope them to add. I don't think it'll happen, but a boy can dream. Expectations, I'm expecting that they are going to be, I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit well, two things, right? I think they're going to be reworking rarity. That's something that I'm going to be expecting. And then I also think that and expect that they're going to be reworking gem levels. I think that's another thing that would be really great, and I do think that there's a high possibility, high likelihood that they do change those. Something I'd like for them to remove from the game Man, I had an idea earlier, but now it's kind of slipped my mind. I want them to. Oh, that's right. I want them to remove and find a way to make it so that when you die in a map, you don't lose the ability to put tablets in there. Because that is one of the worst feeling things in the entirety of the end game.
Agreed.
Where you die, you have one portal, and now you can't. You feel like you either have to waste that map by just running a whatever map in there, or you just completely skip that area. That's what I do when I die and I have to progress. Like I just don't move. I just don't progress that area anymore. I'm just like, all right, I'm just going another direction.
Agreed. What about you, Lolcohol?
I'm fully expecting endgame updates. What I'm hoping for is harder pinnacle content, reasons to really push your build to those higher levels, and also then being able to devise and then execute endgame strategies in a more interesting way. So a more developed Atlas passive tree, and then maybe even more tablet modifiers, stuff like that. But it's a way that you can figure out like an interesting creative strategy and then do it and see how it goes. I love doing that in PoE1, where it's you figure out a strategy, you test it, you see the results, and then try something else. And that's what I really want. And then just improve end game, and then get rid of the chaos plants, or at least the ones in ritual, please. And then rework the plus like gem levels and power balance, all of that. I want that, but I'd say just like
fix everything. Just fix everything. Fix all the problems.
Fix the game. Yeah.
Make the game good, GGG, please. That's
Lolcohol's so bad right now.
It's
It's so bad. No, I'm not one of those people. I really love PoE2. It's got a lot of work still, for sure, but I'm never been a PoE2 bad, like one of those people, because it's boring. Campaign skip, please don't stop. Don't. It's not gonna happen, Clark.
One day. We'll see. Maybe 3, 5, 10 years from now. PoE 3 will have a campaign skip. How about that?
Yeah.
Go
we'll probably
Thanks for
all
coming
be
on,
like-
man.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Wait, are you
We'll
kicking me
definitely-
off?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're wrapping up soon. We're wrapping up soon.
It's
You
fine.
can stay as long as you
Good.
want.
No, it's fine.
We'll have you back every league, though. You're easily one of my
Very good.
favorite creators.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, on my Mount Rushmore of PoE creators, you're a goat,
Oh.
dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Who are the other ones? Everyone, give us your Mount Rushmore.
Top 4 would be you, Miso, Malthil, and Palsteron? Yeah.
Okay.
If I had to pick 4, maybe.
He's like,
Listen, Rabbit only makes he makes like meta slave builds. Whatever, dude. Whatever.
doesn't.
He's just
He
a
is
spark.
the meta.
He's a Sparky ED Con guy. Come on.
He can't help it.
Rabbit broke my heart when he stopped streaming for a month. Okay, how can he be my favorite when he's a D2 content creator now? I didn't know I'd hurt the Rabbit that bad. Listen, Miso makes great content. If there was 5 people, you'd be 5. But Mount Rushmore's 4. Mount Rushmore's 4.
I don't know. No, it's fine. It's fine. My round Rushmore is.
I don't think he's a meta slave, by the way. He makes really cool builds.
Okay.
Who's your Mount Rushmore?
Wait, really?
Yeah, go for it.
DS Lily, Rutu, Quinn.
Okay.
I don't know.
I hate it. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just like, this is so troll. Do a real one.
No, I'm not
think that one's
gonna.
real?
I'm not gonna.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm starting to sweat there. No, I like Quinn.
save-
I like Quinn.
Oh God.
What about me? So do you wanna fall on this grenade, or are we moving on to build of the week?
Sure. I mean, I'll fall on the
Go for
grenade.
it.
I think of it more of as like a Poe general instead of Poe. I'm gonna say Poe in general instead of Poe 2 specifically. Mine is definitely, I think, Mathil. You can't go without
Mathil's
talk
so
about
good.
Mathil. You can't. I also don't think you can disregard Crip. Crip is literally like the grandfather of Path of Exile. Um, and on a personal level, I really like Dat mods. I think I don't know if I would really consider him like a you know PoE specific content creator, but he's a content creator that I almost always like. I've been watching since Diablo 3 days and like watching him whenever he's playing whatever, including PoE. And I think Alkazer is another one that I'd pick. I really like Alkazer. Uh not again,
that's
not
tough.
for like guide content or anything like that, but like, I think he's just one of those folks that I enjoy watching.
Yeah.
Dream Core is a good honorable mention for me.
There's so many though. You
I
could
love
go for like the
Dreamcore.
modern age or like the foundational. Because if it's like Mount Rushmore, I don't know. You'd probably say like Mathil, Crib, Zizaran,
Yes, this is
Ben.
good.
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But then
Zizaran. Yeah. So somehow I didn't
those
include him there. Maybe you know what? I take that back. Sorry, Alkazer. Zizaran's taking your spot.
yeah. But then in terms of people that I like watching, I mean, it's got to be like I actually will hang on your guys' stream, and then Arrow's like my number. Actually,
Arrow's
my,
great.
my favorite streamer is Omicid, but he's not full time, so I don't get to watch him that often. But then Arrow, like I love Arrow. Arrow's great, and I've been loving watching Blaze. Blaze is really cool. Who else? I don't know. There's so many people, man.
I
There's
watch
so many
Dead
people.
Rabbit more than any other streamer, so you know what? I'm kicking Lolcohol off the list, and Dead Rabbit's back on there.
There we go. You're
It's
back
insane to me
on.
why you didn't include me. You're in my chat every single time that I stream.
I literally watch
Like,
you like every day at work.
What? Hello?
You've been
No,
playing
I'm-
D2 for so long, and I don't like
have an
watching that
ego.
game.
I don't have an ego like that. I didn't even stream. I haven't even streamed PV2 in like 6 weeks now, I think. So
I've missed.
I get it. I get it. I suck.
Misa goes to sleep whenever I wake up, so I barely get to watch it.
And that's another thing. Is like a lot of people are sleeping when you want to watch, or like you stream all day, you do content all day, and then it's like, am I really gonna go sit and watch Twitch? So I don't
Yeah,
even.
that's
watch
why
people
I
that much
couldn't.
anymore.
I couldn't even tell. I couldn't even tell you because I barely watch Twitch. When
Yeah.
I watch Twitch, I
consume
watch
YouTube.
Farmer. Like Farmer is
Mm.
like the only streamer I watch because it's like in the evening time for me, and I don't know. I would watch
Yeah.
Miso if I wouldn't be streaming. Sometimes I'm just in his stream
Yeah.
before my stream or when I'm not streaming. So
I hardly
I
ever
don't
get a
know.
chance. I'm too addicted to like Korean survival game shows. Like I can't stop. So
What
there's
the
no time for
fuck?
Twitch, dude. They're so good, so good. I'll send you a list, okay? Just like watch one, and then you'll go down the rabbit hole. But like
The
absolute
rabbit hole.
beyond beyond peak ultimate amazing content. Well,
All right.
I don't even
It's
call it
very
content.
trashy, but sure.
No, it's not. What are you talking about? Are you talking about like Genius Game and that?
Well, I'm talking about like Singles Inferno.
Oh no. I'm talking about like Genius Game, Devil's Plan. I'm watching Bloody Game now. That shit is crazy. That's really cool. But it's like nerdy Survivor for geeks and stuff. It's amazing.
Oh, like
But
actual
anyway.
survival show, like out in nature survival.
No, it's not out in nature.
Oh,
I think it's
no?
just like they call it survival shows, but it's a game where like someone gets eliminated every episode, but then only
I see.
Oh, like Big Brother
Like,
or whatever.
no, but you
Like a
guys need to.
Squid Games s, but it's like more of like a.
Oh, they die? Hell yeah, dude.
Or like
I need to
what is it
find-
called? Like Forged in Fire. Forged in Fire is what I'm
Maybe
thinking
I don't
of.
know. I need to find someone else who watches these shows who gets it. They'll be like, I now have like a Rolodex of like Korean
Or like an
celebrities in
Iron
my head.
Chef.
It kinda, except it's like mind games. But I'm getting excited when I'm like, oh my god, Jino is on this one, or it's like, oh, Dongmin. And I'm starting to like I don't know. I'm becoming what's the equivalent of like a Korean weeb?
A Korea
I feel
boo?
like I'm going. Is that a thing?
Yes,
I feel like
that
I'm
is the
slowly
term.
slipping down that. I'm like, oh no. But they're so good. The shows are so good. So yeah, no
Well,
time
we'll
for
link to your
streamers.
favorite Korean show in the comments below.
Yeah,
We'll spread
genius
the love
game.
that way.
Good luck
Genius
finding
game.
it.
Let's move on to build of the week. Let's
Oh.
talk about awesome Gia's build.
Yep.
Is it Geo or Gia?
Well, it's
Geo?
awesome Geo, but he goes by Gia.
Gia, okay, because I always hear you say Gia. Yeah, Gia dropped another awesome build. It is using Abyssal Lich. We've seen AoE stacking on Abyssal Lich, but this is using Frozen Locust as the main damage source. And as you can see, it is freaking awesome. Just screen-wide explosions. It's everything you want from, doing a weird off-meta build, right? Frozen Locust actually got nerfed in this patch, I believe. Was it 0.4 or 0.3 at Frozen Locust? It was 0.4. Okay, so
0.4.
I don't think very many people mess with it since it was a pretty hard nerf because it was really good in the campaign in 0.3. It was like one of the better bossing from low levels, and then they nerfed it, and clearly, Abyssal Lich can turn most skills into what you're seeing here, just massive AoE, but Frozen Locust just has so much splendor to it.
Though?
Nope.
Or is it just no? Oh
Nope.
god, this looks insanely satisfying.
Yeah, it is basically how I don't. Do you want to explain how it works, Cal?
No, you go for it. Go for it.
So basically, what it is that it's what you're seeing on the screen is Frozen Locust hitting the monsters, and then the monsters proccing Herald of Ice and just exploding and doing the chain explosions afterwards. So how this build works is because Abyssal Lich has this ability to turn Spirit into things like attack percentage, attack speed, spell damage, energy shield, whatever, right? Based on the minions that you summon. So he's summoning 44, I think, skeletal arsonists, which is a ridiculous amount, but each of those skeletal arsonists, I think, gives 15% increased area of effect. So what he found is that you can the Frozen Locust actually snapshots the area of effect. So you can go and spawn the Frozen Locust with your damage setup, which gives it the damage, and then swap to the AoE setup and detonate it to give the big AoE. So it gets both big damage and big AoE, and uses that to chain the that. And the Heralds being so big is also because he has a bunch of increased AoE.
Yeah, and it's Abyssal Lich, so I mean, Abyssal Lich builds are always cool. I love low life builds. Like, this is just it. Like, it ain't a Gia build. Like, Gia builds never miss.
Yeah.
Just one more reason why Lich is also the best Ascendancy in the game.
It's your favorite, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to play it one day.
I'd say this build is definitely not I would not say it's meta at all, and it's probably not very quote unquote practical in the sense that it works, right? But you're not going to be using it to like clear.
This is a showcase for sure.
Yeah, it's basically like it's showcasing an idea exactly. You can use it to map, you can use it to do clear content, but it's not going to be one that you're like, oh my god, this is what I'm be playing for the league to like be super efficient.
Yeah, 44 skeletal arsonists is that's not the value of this build is not equating the the amount of time and effort to pull it off. So this is a build showcase for sure. It's sick, but you don't want to play this. I mean, you might want to play it.
Yeah, you might want to.
Not late started.
Yeah, and it's definitely not practical. It's not practical.
Yeah. Cool. This is the only build we got this week. We're reaching the super off season. Keep in mind, again, Miso has his Discord channel. Hop into his Discord, and you can post build of the weeks. Obviously, not many people are experimenting right now because of not just the cost of leak, but because most people are just waiting for 0.5. But yeah, shout out to Gia, another awesome build, and shout out to Lolcohol. Thanks again for coming on, bro, and for the long chat.
Thank you. Do it again soon.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and plug yourself. Shout outs where people can find you.
Just Lolcohol, YouTube, Twitch, Patreon. What's the other ones? OnlyFans?
OnlyFans?
That's it. Yeah, no, only feet.
Grindr?
That's the one. But also this. Yeah, there, but that's a secret. You're gonna have to sign up for the That's my highest patron perk tier. Yeah.
Got it.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. We'll definitely get you back. Always love chatting with you. Rabbit, it's good to have you back too. Missed you so much. Go ahead and
Yeah,
do your
right.
shoutouts, man.
Yeah, this is me. This is Dead Rabbit. Rank 8 on Kaltorek's Mount Rushmore of Path of Exile 2 streamers from Germany with tattoos that also play Diablo 2. So thank you so much for that. It's high praise. I couldn't have imagined to have this. Thank you to the Academy, also my parents for birthing me. Amazing. I'm actually starting to stream PoE2 again on Monday.
Yay!
It's Friday. It's Friday right now. I'm going back to PoE2 streaming every single day on Monday, and I am actually extremely excited for it. I'm super excited for it. I have a list of stuff that I want to do before 0.5 in terms of like campaign runs, league starters, challenge runs, all of that. I am super excited. So yeah, I'll be back to PoE2 on Monday.
Yay!
Woo! Woo! I'm going up that list on Kaltorek's.
Do you mind sharing me that list or like just a couple of ideas here and there?
Yes, of course. It's
Okay,
just like
cool.
league starter ideas and
That's fine.
everything.
I need something. I need something to fill the void. All right.
I actually feel bad. It didn't even cross my mind when I listed those 4 people. I left Rabbit off of me, so I actually feel a little bad.
I do not
I
care.
do watch you more than anyone.
I couldn't.
Miso, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, as usual, twitch.tv/MisoXshiro, YouTube at MisoXshiro as well if you're watching the VOD. Also Spotify, we have a Spotify channel for the Path of Exile podcast. Find us there. But yeah, playing Path of Exile 2 for the past week. Been having a good time. Lots of Yap sessions. If you're into Yap sessions, I think we're going to continue doing quite a few of those, but also I'm going through campaign with Hollow Pop right now. Going to continue to just work on like basically refining my league starters that I've done in the past so I can update the guides. So coming out for a chill time. Though I might be dipping my toes into either MapleStory Classic if I get an invite for that, or maybe some old school RuneScape for the league. So that's gonna be super fun and exciting. But probably gonna happen for maybe half a week is what I'd say.
Well, it was a fun episode, guys. Thanks for the chat once again. Keep in mind, next week we have Dreamcore on. Super excited to have Dreamcore on. Leave some comments down below about topics you want to talk about Dreamcore. He's a super knowledgeable guy. I've got a good idea about what we'll talk about them, but I'm sure there's some good topics you guys can propose. So let us know down below. I'll be streaming right after this podcast and all next week and stuff. I'm getting back into the swing of things. I might be doing some weird speedrunner event with Crimson Cast where we're getting speedrunner coaches to stream to coach streamers, and then we're all going to be entering a little race. I think Miso's also doing it. I don't know if Lolcohol and Rabbit will join up, but I'll be doing some speed run practice as we're leading up to 0.5 and all the same stuff these guys have been saying. Just doing league start prep, and yeah, we're hopefully a month away from launch. So thanks for hanging out, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.